Newsfile is brought to you in association with MTN. Everywhere you go. Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner. And Lipton, inspiration flowing from nature.
Unanimously dismiss the claims relating to duplicate serial numbers, duplicate polling station codes, and unknown polling stations, as for short. Atuguba Adeyira Bafubani Gwedegwe and Akotobamfu JJLC dismissed the claim of overvoting. Atuguba Adeyira Bafubani Gwedegwe and Akotobamfu JJLC dismissed the claim relating to absence of signature of presiding officer. Atuguba Adeyira Doche Bafubani Gwedegwe and Akotobamfu dismissed the claim relating to voting without biometric verification. Ansa Owusu and Eni Yabua JJLC grant all the three claims, that's to say overvoting, absence of presiding officer signature, and voting without biometric verification, and all the votes involved, and order a rerun of the affected areas. The GLC grants the claim of overvoting, but has provided a roadmap in his judgment as to the figures of votes to be ascertained and cancelled, and a rerun of the areas affected. The GLC opposed the claim relating to absence of presiding officer signatures on the pink sheets, cancels the results concerned, and orders a rerun of the areas affected. Bafubani GLC grants the claim of voting without biometric verification, cancels the votes involved, and orders a rerun of the areas affected. In the circumstances, the overall effect is that the first respondent was validly elected and the petition is therefore dismissed. Our various judgments, for the sake of convenience, are handed over to the registrar of this court. We highly commend the services of PKG, the referee appointed to undertake the count of the pink sheets, and also the counsel on all sides of this case. That's our judgment.
I've just called President John Dramani Mahama and have now congratulated him on being elected the fourth president of the Fourth Republic of our country. The Supreme Court of our nation has spoken, and the result of the December 2012 presidential election has been confirmed as having been won by the candidate of the National Democratic Congress, President Mahama. As I said earlier, whilst I disagree with the court's decision, I accept it. I accept that what the court says brings finality to the election dispute. We shall not be asking for a review of the verdict so we can all move on in the interest of our nation. Everything in my bones, in my upbringing, and in what I have done with my life thus far makes it imperative that I accept a decision made by the highest court of the land, however much I dislike or disagree with it. I am saddened by the verdict, and I know that many of our supporters are saddened too. However, For the sake and love of our country, we must embark on a path that builds rather than destroys to deal with our disappointment. I appeal to all members and supporters of our party, the MPP, to accept the verdict of the court. Even in our disappointment, we can take pride in the way we have conducted ourselves. Even in our disappointment, we can take pride that the MPP has again led the way in deepening Ghana's democracy.
We have all been captivated by the proceedings, and it is with awe that we have watched the advancement of the jurisprudence of the Supreme Court of Ghana. We have also in the process managed to turn ourselves into a nation of pocket lawyers and armchair judges, and in typical Ghanaian fashion, let the language of law enter our daily vocabulary. It is not uncommon now to hear teachers, professors, and senior citizens referred to as my lord, my lord. For taxi drivers, contractors, and seamstresses to discuss the face of the pink sheets. For farmers, doctors, and market women to make mention and request further and better particulars. Even children now are familiar with the term amicus curiae. This is yet another example of the interest we Ghanaians take in issues of importance to the betterment of our nation, of how deeply we are willing to invest in our self-education on these matters. Ghana is our home. We cannot afford to be cynical. We do not have the luxury of sitting on the sidelines. We must all work to make Ghana work. I know that in the last 8 months we have had several hurdles to overcome. Issues of governance, labor, energy, economy, education, and health. I know too that because the world does not stand still, when one goal is met or a mandate is delivered, over the coming years, from time to time, we'll continue to face our fair share of challenges. There are various reforms that must take place and bold decisions that must be made. I assure you that I'm prepared and committed. First of all, I want to express my gratitude and appreciation to the good people of Ghana for your patience, especially through the stretches of darkness and uncertainty. The days ahead of us will be brighter, and the opportunities for prosperity will be many. My fellow citizens, my brothers and sisters, this afternoon Nana Akufo-Addo and I had a conversation, and I am assured that with the court case over and the verdict announced, we can now, all of us, put this behind us and turn our full attention back to building this great nation. This government is ready to work for you. It's ready to work for all Ghanaians. It is my expectation that all Ghanaians are also prepared to work to uplift our nation, because Ghana must succeed.
One would have, and rightly so, said that Ghana was at a brink. But as usual, Ghanaians are good at pulling the chestnut out of the blazing fire. Sometimes you think that it is all lost, but as a people, we are able to come together and to, as it were, ensure that we behave in ways that would bring about unity. Now, somebody was making a joke. Then look, we are all crying for peace, but we have not seen the fighters. Who are the fighters? And it was rightly so. People were rather, as it were, buying food to store rather than going to buy arms. So who was then going to fight? And so for me, the Ghanaian spirit, the Ghanaian, Ghana is heaven on earth. And we shouldn't joke with the freedom that we have. And I'm happy that we'll be able to pull out from the brink. On the issue of the justices, it is not unusual to go to court and then find that the judge is delaying coming out That's what I saw on that day. But I agree, this was so prolonged. But the president of the panel...
It is not unusual. Is it acceptable? Should it be normal? They expect a certain, professional attitude from all of us, okay? And you go to court. When you are late, you may get, reprimanded. They are also officers of the state.
Yes, but that is not to say that whilst they were in chambers, they were not working. The fact that you didn't see them out in the open didn't mean that whilst in chambers, they were not working. It is part of the work. And the president of the panel rightly indicated that they were dealing with matters which were not light-hearted matters, meaning that they were actually working towards the ruling. And so I think that though that delay caused some amount of anxiety, but at the end of the day, they came out and made that important ruling.
Yeah.
You see,
okay.
What also happened where the judges did not give reasons is not also unusual. Indeed, we have a Kenyan experience to show. In the Kenya experience, they gave their ruling and then, as it were, give their reasons later on. So it is not out of the ordinary, but we would have expected, we wish that it is done in such a way that the ruling came out with the reasons, and today would have been in a position to go into details. But it's not unusual.
Mr. Iko, the concern is that this case is not in the class or category of the normal private, matters that you litigate in court, and that, waiving the part of the judgment itself, the reasons, was not the best.
Well, I sat in this studio and made a point that the peace that we are enjoying could continue if each and every one of them give his or her opinion assigning reasons while he's accepting a particular category or refusing or rejecting that particular category. It was a bit unsettling to go and sit in a court around 9:30 and to wait till about 1 o'clock. And the usual practice would have been for the president to announce.
I understand we have a little technical difficulty with your mic. Okay. I'll let Nana Atodavi take that question, and then we'll return to you when that is sorted out shortly.
Well, thanks very much.
Some say it's unpardonable that we have such a delay and then after we don't have reasons for the judgment.
Well, thank you very much. And, I think it's also proper for me to extend the warmest regards to the 5.5 million NDC supporters, who prayed and held out over the last 8 months. It's wonderful. And indeed, all Ghanaians, for the wonderful sense of holding up, this difficult and challenging time. I think Ghana is obviously the winner. But those two matters, yes, a court delays in coming out. I don't know. So what? I mean, it's important that you understand the judges were in chambers. You see, if the judges were not around, then you can fault them. But they were in chambers. What were they doing in chambers for 2 hours? You understand? Of course, we were expecting them to come here at 10 o'clock. Yes, but 12 o'clock, 1, they were not coming in. Obviously, I mean, you could see that looking at the ruling or the judgment they came up with, you could see they must have gone through a whole lot of battle, debate
after
among
8
themselves.
Months, they had 15 days to do that.
Yes, but what I hear, somebody said it, I don't know, that the judgment is about 700 pages. I don't know, I can't confirm. But that's what it is.
I understand it's between 600 and 800 pages
exactly,
all put together.
Which tells you the amount of work they would have done. You understand? So,
and that could not be put together and made ready before the 15th day?
No, but there's nothing that says that they should wait until the 15th day, or they should have it before the 15th day.
1 hour before the ruling, if one judge, for instance, decides that we must look at this point again, you will have to. It's a panel. So it's not an individual thing. It's not Mr. Jensa Tuguba who is writing out something. No. Each one must be convinced that what they're coming out is the appropriate thing. Particularly when they decide to extract an executive summary to present to the world. There's a lot of balancing that will go on in terms of whether this particular word is right or not. And you are dealing with 9 judges. Each one will want the right word, the right phrase, the right sentence to be used. So I really don't think that the delay, yes, we, or those of us out there, those of us immediately in the front line, our lawyers, those of us sitting around, it was a very anxious moment for us. We wanted to know why probably it was all happening. But, we were told that, they'll be coming pretty soon. We were given the reason. But the other point about no reasons given, is that the point? I don't know. Or no detailed reason given.
Exactly.
I don't know. They did indicate that the full judgment is available. That they were extracting and they're presenting, as it were, the summary, executive summary. I think it's the best thing that they could have done. Like my friend said.
The criticism is that it didn't seem to help facilitate the peace process because the process of peace was predicated on how the judgment is accepted. And you ought to know the reasons to help you better, assimilate what it is that they had given.
Well, it depends on the spectacles you are wearing, for those who think that the 680 pages would have pushed the peace process further, I disagree. Indeed, one of the things that they probably did to serve the peace process was to come out with a clear and unambiguous decision. Short, crisp, this is our decision.
I see.
And nobody was in doubt.
Statement telling us, no, it's not that way, it's rather the other way. Can you imagine what?
No, they had taken the decision already in chambers and knew the way the judges had voted on the various categories. So there was no doubt in the final decision that said that the president was validly elected. So that matter of whether the president was validly elected or not did not come out of the drawing up of the statement. That decision was already taken. It was a clerical error in reducing it into writing, in reducing what they said in chambers into writing. That's how come they came and got that wrong.
Okay. So you're speaking as if you are very sure that what he said, what was on the paper, what was on the paper that he was reading.
Oh, that is so. What he said was on the paper, and indeed, I am told that it was even in the record book. So they had to take the record book and correct the wrong. So for me, I have indicated on your program yesterday that the justices are human beings like us. They will make mistakes. But has it gone to the root of the judgment? It has not gone to the root of the judgment. I do not see why, after this ruling, this trivial issue should occupy our minds. I've heard a suggestion that the court was functitious officials, and for that matter, could not have done what it did.
Deal with it gradually. True or false that the court became functitious official after it delivered the judgment?
Very true.
Right.
Now, the argument that the court should have reconvened to then have the correction made is also defeated by the fact that the court was functitious officials. If you are functitious official, you cannot reconvene. It means that, what's the meaning of that? It means that you do not have any further authority or legal authority to deal with the matter. That's what it means by being functitious officials.
Right.
But if I may
so, if your argument is that the court could not act on the correction, The same way, the court could not also reconvene to act on that same matter when its authority had ended.
Even if any of the parties were to apply. Even if any of the parties were to.
No, he's asking you a question. And the question he's asking you is based on law.
Yes. Even if.
That what?
That if you are sticking with the argument that the court's mandate had expired, so it could not have done what it did. Your law also says that on the court's own motion or by an application from either one of the parties, they could have made the correction.
To what? To a matter which has seen closure, it will amount to a review.
No.
Oh, yes, that's it.
No.
This will amount to plowing new grounds.
I see. Nana, your quick intervention. I'm coming to Mr. Eko too at this point now.
Well, of course, because we are not sure of the nature. If this is a clerical error, then it falls within a different category.
No, but I wanted to let me clear this. That you see, this whole thing about functions of future or whatnot, a slip rule arises after the court has finished its work, has delivered a judgment, and then there's an error. Yes. A clerical error or something that is noticed.
If it's a substantive matter.
So I don't think that we should be going there.
In fact, there's an institution in this country that has a responsibility of correcting judgments. And I'm talking about the Council for Law Reporting. Sometimes this body, they have editors in this institution. Now they go through the judgments. If they see a mistake which does not substantially, they will correct it. If they notice that the mistake, if they correct it, will not substantially affect
but
the
that's
ruling.
the point.
So Council of Law Reporting has editors that even correct mistakes.
So we must
and they don't call them the parties before they do the correction.
Great. Mr. Ikotu. Yeah. Now let's hear you.
Well, I don't know where to start. Whether I should go to the beginning.
Canvas all your...
Very well. I was making the point that I thought at least each of the justices would have given his or her own opinion, telling us how they arrive at their conclusions. Unfortunately, what we had was a global judgment, which is what happens when you are dealing with a panel. After the individuals are voted, then the president will now announce the decision of the court. Now, when it started, I thought they wanted to deal with the less weighty ones before coming to the meat, that is the overvoting, voting without biometric verification and the rest. But before we could say Jack, they kept on voting, at the end of which they said the overall effect is that the petition has been dismissed. Now, it was most disappointing to most people who were looking for something more than merely the final decision, so that the leaders who understand the issues would then be able to explain to those who are non-lawyers and the followers, to explain to them that, look, there's no need, for example, to go on review. Let us just accept the decision because the reasons are quite weighty. But for now, we have all been left in the limbo. I have told so many radio stations that as far as I'm concerned, there is nothing to discuss because the reasons are not available and I don't know what we are going to analyze. It is true that attempts have been made to get copies of the reasons. We have all done it. What I have here is the voting which was read. I have not received the full opinions, as we call them. Now, this slip rule matter is also worrying because if you get a 6-3 majority, then you see that even in a review, if you add 2 people, it will still be 6-5. But when it is 5-4, if you add 2 people and the 2 go on the side of the 4, you are likely to defeat it. Now you're going to have 6-5. So it's so important that it should not be swept under the carpet for us to create the impression that nothing untoward had happened. Something really happened. It put, again, Mr. Justice Bafo-Bonne in a very bad light. How could they have voted this way and voted that way? For most people, that the man couldn't make up his mind. Right. Which was not the case. And as my colleagues have said, if indeed they were all sitting there, what else could they have done? Because at that stage, it's only the president who has the right to speak. They cannot intervene and say, oh, I didn't say what you are saying. I didn't vote for this person, I didn't vote for that. It will be too late for them. Again, if they've taken their time to read, and usually all these things are signed by all the parties. If they had done that inside in the chambers, then Bafokone would have corrected them there and then that I did not vote for this or I did not dismiss it. But it appeared that it was not done in there, but it was rather outside when they came. That perhaps, why? Because if it was done there, he would have said it.
This is absolutely
How
unfair.
could it be unfair? This is my opinion. You are saying that they were there. If they were there and they saw it,
but operating were there. It says appeared.
Yes. If he was there and he knew that he is being alleged to have dismissed something, when in fact he had not dismissed it, and he read it, he would have corrected it. He's not a young man to just allow others to go put words in his mouth. So I'm saying that
I can't believe my ears.
Let me land. It's a slip rule, yes, but what has happened is possible. I mean, it could be corrected. If they say they've corrected it, that's so great. I don't want us to split hairs over it. It's been done.
But you are not suggesting deliberateness. In the insertion of his name to that
I'm saying so. I'm saying that they were all there in the room. We waited from about 8:30 to 1. If this thing had been written there in front of everybody, they've all had the chance to look at it and even appended their signatures. It would have made the correction. I don't know how come that this glaring error was presented to the public. And at the end of the day, when the discussion started, we were told that, sorry, in fact, I should tell you that I have two of these things. The first one, which was different. Yes. The second, they had to withdraw it and give me another one. Why was the need for it?
But my friend, you are a potential Supreme Court judge.
Yes.
Are you saying that, are you proposing, I can't believe my ears, that, for instance, the judges sat down there, walked into the court without having the executive summary, okay? These people read and considered and possibly signed is there. It's impossible. There's a signature list.
Can you now explain what happened?
Please. I'm saying that, can you conceive of a panel of 9 coming to deliver a judgment or even a ruling without first the text being read and considered by each judge separately and serially? It's impossible.
Where did the error come from?
And did you realize also, Nana, that even in the quorum, you had one judge's name missing.
Where?
In the first one, yes. They had to correct it in the second one.
Yes. Sir, but I'm saying, hold it. I'm saying, no, let's not shift the goalpost.
Right.
I'm saying that, can you conceive as a very senior lawyer that a panel of 9 judges will come out to sit without each judge looking at the, the document that is to be read? It's impossible.
Right.
Mr. Tudazi, I think the issue is very clear. You see,
I don't think we should want to spike the judgment.
Please, don't let us go there. Yeah. I do not think that is what anybody is doing here.
Yeah,
we are having a very intelligent discussion.
Oh, please. Yeah.
And we have every right to draw our own conclusions.
Oh, absolutely.
We are saying that if these things had been done the way we know them, the way it's always been done, this error would not have occurred. And that is the worrying trend. People are asking questions. We are here to educate the public.
Okay.
But yes.
Let me hear you finally on this point.
Yes. I'll listen to the lawyers.
Okay.
Maybe I will make a intervention. You see, this reminds me, maybe this is very wrong reference point I'm going to make, but it reminds me of the page 28 saga and how it was killed. What is this thing animal you call slip rule, which I do not really appreciate? I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I recall that when this page 28 thing happened, the judge involved took that judgment and effected a correction on his own. You recall that? And that led to all these problems. So I was thinking that there must be a very formal way when something is read in an open court, however inadvertent the error was. And I say whether it's clerical or substantive. Clerical, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I'll be honest with you.
Right.
But the way we are curing it can lead to all sorts of perceptions being played up.
Okay.
So in rationalizing this apparent clerical error, I think we ought to do the rationalization well in order not to deepen any perceptions. Out there right now are full all sorts of speculations, which sometimes even borders on the substance of the verdict, which I'm not prepared to do at this stage.
So I continue with you immediately. Let's move on to Nana's phone call to the president and his talk about not going for a review. Some say that quick press conference was good because it helped the atmosphere to facilitate acceptance and peace.
Yeah.
Some say it's a political strategy. And we may have heard people like Johnson Esiedu subsequently suggest that he had no option. This was the only way to save his face after he's been defeated in such a manner.
Well, last week I indicated here that those who sought to distort the all die be die cry were not vindicated by the fact that Nana Akufo-Addo and his team went to court. That's the man's nature. I've never seen him as a man of violence. He's never been. It's been propaganda attempts to distort his profile and political career, So he did the right thing. The timing, I think, was perfect. You just indicated it helped to bring down anxiety and any, suspense and all the rest. They called the president, conceded, held a public event, made a point about no review. There are a lot of people arguing about that aspect, made a point, disagrees, but accepts. That was a lawyer talking. Okay, so for me, I'm surprised that I see doing Kitia. I thought he proved smarter than Sir John when he recoiled from all this chief court reporting matter. Unfortunately, his intrusion of late, I was surprised. You understand? The whole world is commending Ghana as well as Nana Akufo-Addo. They are commending the Supreme Court, they are commending the respondents, they are commending the petitioners, including Akufo-Addo. Kofi Annan has done that. All the international community are doing that. And you have a general secretary of the ruling party intruding with this kind of, mischief that only inflames passions and redirects discussion onto a negative plane. I'm surprised. Our president, who is the leader of his party, spoke in a way that a statesman must speak, which then coincides with what Nana Addo had done, that appealed to the MPP supporters to accept the verdict. We must focus on Ghana and for development and peace. And then you have Asare Nkitia coming in. I think perhaps one should not even dignify his intervention with any further comment. You understand?
But Nana has suffered some flack for that also from his own party.
Exactly.
In the Ashanti region, they say he took a unilateral decision. He shouldn't have done so. He was in a rush.
Well, I'm told Nana has apologized within that context. But I'm even surprised that before the verdict, he had made a public pledge. And the party knew that. The party knew. I believe it was even the party's own corporate position. That, look here, we are going into this thing. If we are pronounced losers, we would accept it in good faith and move on. Okay, so, well, in terms of timing, he should have gone and consulted. It could have taken 2-3 days. And that in itself would have been used against Nana and the party. On the balance, I think it was the right thing he did at the right time. It helped both, not just Akufo-Addo, but the party and the country. So really, the Asante discord is also a voice of discord.
He got the leaders of the party yesterday at a meeting and endorsed his position.
So, what's the big deal now? What's the big deal? If he was going to consult, I'm telling you, we could have taken some 48 hours, and that would have been used against him as well as the party. The Supreme Court had done. He's a lawyer, a consummate one, a former Attorney General. I mean, come on. Sometimes we drag things too much.
Right.
Yeah.
Nana said, and I quote him, he said, whilst I disagree with the court's decision, I accept it. I accept that the court, I accept what the court says brings finality to the election dispute. We shall not be seeking or asking for a review of the verdict, so we can all move on in the interest of our nation. Everything in my bones, in my upbringing, and in what I have done with my life thus far makes it imperative that I accept a decision made by the highest court of the land, however much I dislike or disagree with it.
I think that's a fantastic statement that could ever come from any political leader with any democratic credentials to go with. Really, I've said it here before, that one of the biggest problems we face as a people, not only in Ghana, in Africa, is that we lack leaders with democratic disposition. You know, you must have that mental, posture where we say that I'm prepared to accept defeat. I'm prepared to also, accept a win once I go into court. You understand? I think Kwaku did make the point. The line is that you are dealing with a petitioner, a first petitioner, who is a lawyer of so many years standing. You see, for him to say that he is not happy with some parts of the ruling, it's no news. Yeah. It's no news. At times you win a case, and yet still you can say that there are parts of the judgment you disagree. You would have loved to, because no, yes, he gave me judgment, but why did he overrule me on that little point? So, the issue of being happy or not happy with that disposition, it's a different matter. Yes, he's a human being. His own mental arrangement says that no, probably it could have been something else. Look, our position also is that we want to see the the ruling come out, because we are also interested in knowing how some 4 judges in various cases also voted against that. You see, the 3 also voted. We all learn lessons. You understand? Because we also firmly believe that the evidence available could probably ought to have been wholly on our side. The verdict on but then. The point that I'm advocating here is that I think that is absolutely right here.
Yes. And you say what he did was a fine or class act. He's receiving tons of commendation all over for it. What do you say to the General Secretary of the NDC, saying that this is the act of a warmonger who is left with no options and wants to just save his face, wants to save the little credibility he's got left?
You see, I think that we in this panel, like we say, we must move to deepen the peace process. There are some comments, you leave them as they are. I mean, I also saw.
You leave them as they are. The party should not be interested in commenting about it at all.
I read about the national executive of the MPP taking Nana to task for an early pronouncement. Yes, he gave them an explanation and all that. We don't want to advocate those matters here. You get me? But they want an explanation, whatever. The views of people, fine. I am not prepared to repeat what the view of an individual person in this matter.
He's not an individual person. He's the General Secretary of the party.
Even then, he's entitled to his individual opinion. You can't deny him that.
Remember when Sir John made those contemptuous comments?
Yes.
The court said it was disappointed that nobody in the party called him to order.
Well, I don't think you want us to go there, because and many of them who said that they tried to call him into order. I don't think so. The point I'm making is that for us here, we should help look more on the positive side. Let us push ahead the peace process.
Yeah, it's also not good to behave like ostriches. Let's speak to the matters as they happen.
Yes, but we are speaking to the matters. I'm saying that we should look on the final side of our conduct. You understand? As a country, as a people, we are dealing with a whole population of 20-something million people. How can we ensure that we pad up the good side and then lower whatever we think it may not be the best? You understand? Then I've said, and I'll repeat anyway, that I think that comment he made, the concession you made, it's a good one.
All right.
And it will advance our democratic process. We must learn to accept defeat.
Right. Ms. Haiku, what do you say to your own party people who say he rushed and he shouldn't have done that? At least he should have had the benefit of the judgment and to consult to be able to make that decision?
Well, you see, there was this program, what we call the final show on TV3, on this mentor thing. And some of us were invited. I was asking myself why I was being invited. I had not followed it, so I didn't see why I should go to the final program. But I saw Nana Akumia telling the whole world that Nana Akufo-Addo would call President Mahama and congratulate him. Immediately the results came out. That is his confidence. That is what he knows. That is what he told the whole world. And therefore, I was not surprised when it came out that is what had been planned, that he was going to say so. For an opposition leader, you need to make a concession statement after, a judgment. That is the will of the people, usually in an election. But here is a court decision which was hoping to overturn the EC's declaration. That again went against him, and therefore he was obliged to make a statement. Clearly, he might have spoken so too early because he had not seen the reasons. Now, as I was developing the point, 6-3 is not the same as 5-4.
That is so.
Yeah, so 5-4, chances of going for a review will be higher than when you have 6-3. So he spoke early. But at the end of the day, he doused the flame. Whatever, reasons people had for not accepting the final decision of the courts, the petitioner said, I have accepted it. It's like the Mona case, and when somebody decided to go for a review, what's his name?
Abu Ramadan.
Abu Ramadan. He was told that he has no local standard, to come there. So if the petitioner, and in the company of two other petitioners, they were all there when the man made a concession and said, I'm not going for a review. Who are you to say, as for me, I'm going for a review? The court will tell you that you don't have any local standard. So I think he did well. He considered defeat. There is another day to fight. Most people say, well, that is the way to go. His supporters immediately, he called upon them, to also accept and help to, bridge the gap to build our country. He said he didn't even feel just like talking about it, but he's feeling it inside his bones that is the proper way to go. That's why I even agree with Kuku Baku that the man is never and has never been a violent man. But our friends on the other side, their strength at propaganda was said that they painted him that way throughout, even before the election. And now this is what he has shown to the whole world, that he is not that kind of a violent individual.
You spoke about the outcome of 6-3 and 5-4, and that 6-3 would have given you a better opportunity if you want to look at a review. Exactly. But the question is that is not how you determine when to go for a review, because you should be looking at what exceptional circumstances exist that may have led to some error in the judgment. You should be looking at what a discovery of what new and important matter of or evidence that was not within your knowledge, even upon due diligence, and now it's available and can turn anything. Can we say in this circumstance that you haven't read the judgment, and you are not also saying you have some new evidence that you're holding on, that you could have actually, contemplate a review in the first place?
Yes, strategically. If you have 8-1, if you can only add 2 more to the number. So if the 2 more come and they go along the side of the 1, you still will have 3. It will not make any difference. So you start from there. Look at the permutation first before you go looking for the evidence. As for evidence, you may find. It's not a new evidence, necessarily, but the exceptional circumstances that go to the root of the judgment.
Are there not cases where those who supported the matter later on review change their mind?
Well, it is possible. I have gone through that situation before.
So why do you dismiss that possibility?
No, I have not. I'm saying that strategically, you look at the voting pattern first and ask yourself whether anything useful will come out of it, even if you attempt to go there. Because all you can have are only 2 new people who are coming. And these people might not change their minds at all. But the minds that you don't know are the new additions.
All right.
So if you do the permutation, you find that it will not work for you, then the advice is please don't go. It will be a complete waste of.
But in the end, you say you disagree with those who say he rushed into making that decision.
Oh yes, because it doused the flame.
Right.
The country is at peace now, and if he had said, "Look, we are going for a review," you could have imagined what would have happened.
I see.
I've had calls from the whole of the country,
right.
People waiting, people who are still not happy with what have happened. But when you tell them that, look, the man who can go for review is telling you, I am not taking a review.
Koko, you had your hand up briefly from you, and then I come to
But I think in the process, he cured the problem that I had, because otherwise I was going to suggest that if we were to rely or overrate the mathematical equation, then it can also lead to undermining those who sit, the legal, the knowledge, the experience, the kind of integrity that comes to bear on the judicial pronouncement. That if there is new evidence, a judge, because you voted one way previously, will not change his mind. But he cured that problem.
Right.
I think the mathematical
can I
thing
make a little correction?
should not be overrated.
Can I make a little correction?
Yes.
When my friend, my learned friend, a very good friend, talks about the mathematical equation, and then he says 5-4, and the what?
6-3.
It's 6-3. I don't know what the 5-4-6-3 is talking about.
Because
Look,
in this case, it was
it's what
it was on the head of the claim and not the entire voting. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I'm saying that in the case of the duplicate serial numbers, it was 9-0.
That's correct.
In the case of duplicate polling station with same code, 9-0.
That's correct.
In the case of the unknown polling station, it was 9-0. That's the weight of
what does it mean?
Just a minute. In the case of the duplicate serial number, their total claim was for 4 million, almost 3.9 million.
Yeah, but that was always the weak link.
Just wait. 3.9 million votes. The serial numbers, once that all the judges came together and said that claim was not allowable. It's not a proper claim.
Those were the weak links.
But it threw 3 million votes out immediately. 3 million.
Yeah.
3 million votes out. So when you come to the others where
they were more
disputed,
substantive.
the unsigned pink sheet, it was 5-4. The voting without biometric verification, it was 5-4. The overvoting, it was 5-4. So I don't see what you are talking about. This Hearts of Folk versus Kotokote or 5.
All right.
It was 9-0, 9-0, 9-0, 5-4, 5-4.
Okay.
I want an answer.
In a minute, then I'll take.
It's completely
overwhelming. Yes.
In all these categories, are we not looking for nullification of votes?
That is so.
Yes. And you are saying that in these 3 very critical areas, overvoting, voting without biometric verification, and presiding officer not signing, it was all 5-4, 5-4, 5-4. And there are no votes there.
There are
not enough.
So,
no. What was the margin between the first two?
In fact, in each one of them,
which would have made a difference.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
It's a fact.
To 1-0.
Yes.
1-0 is still a victory. I don't understand.
We are doing a discussion. We are doing a discussion.
Okay.
So let's look at all the issues.
Some discussion you don't need to start.
and about the mathematical calculation, he admits, and I was asking
It's
him
6-0.
with the benefit of clear cases at the Supreme Court where the majority upon a review changed their minds. There is the NDK Financial Services matter, which is it Osafo Boabeng who moved that particular review, and the majority you know,
Chief,
change
there's
their mind
no review
completely.
here.
All right.
6-0.
Thank you.
But even the recent case, the the minority three, they shifted to
Great. The Jacob Belamte's Bangalore matter.
We cannot speculate on so many things. But
we don't have the judgment.
Let me hear Amalba on this one. And
sorry.
I'm getting information that we did not explain Functus, official. But I think we did. We did. When we said that the mandate of the panel had expired in respect of that particular, case. That was it. You explained it in a different way. Yeah.
I indicated that when you talk about Functus official, you are simply saying that the court is without further authority or legal competence to act because the duties and functions of that court has come to an end.
If you have a good ground, put it forward. And so for me, it is not, everybody's talking about Chachu. Yes, you depend on the hat you're wearing, you may decide one way or the other.
All right.
But he has when you listen to him speak, he has given cogent reasons. He's challenged us as a people to say, look, there are no-go areas. So people don't want to talk about certain things perhaps.
Right.
But this is something that must be discussed. More or equally importantly, he's made mention, of the fact that I have raised it. People discuss it. But let us be very, 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 very candid. If you're a practicing lawyer and you are going through you know that you have 20, 30 years more before benches and whatnot, you have to be very careful. Whether we like this, a fact, how you speak about this matter, what you say.
You have the benefit of both worlds. You've practiced in England,
yes,
and Ghana as well.
Yes,
great. Would you do anything like that if you had a problem against the judge?
It depends upon which point of my
any of the jurisdictions.
Legal career.
I would never in England or here in Ghana.
I would never do it at this stage of my career.
Okay, let me go around.
But if you are a senior lawyer who has been practicing for years, who is established, who has colleagues on the bench, who are people who you have dealt with, then certain liberties can be taken, and that is also something that happens in the legal profession.
Thank you very much, Alex Segwefia. Nana, I come to you right away. Street. Church's comments.
Well, again, thank you very much for the opportunity. After 7 or so or 8 months, I believe this is my last lap here.
And
I hope you will excuse me. I mean, understand your protest, but I think I've served my bit. I mean, I believe that this matter should be put to rest. I mean, this country should move on. And that's really from what point I said that I wish to back out from today on this show. But, me can come back on other matters. But thank you. I'm very happy that I haven't spoken to Chachu so that I can speak my own mind about this matter. Like my friend says, I have a problem with the timing, because this is a time when people are seething with a lot of pain, It's a very challenging period for some people. So no matter what you say, you may be saying the right thing, but hey, I mean, the pain will convert what you are saying into something else. And that's the challenge I have with it. Otherwise, I think that Chachu, I will back Chachu in what he says. You understand perfectly where he's coming. What has he said that he said wrong?
So
it's
like
one of perception.
The question I put to Alex.
Yes, I'm responding.
Can we look at it from the factual basis?
Factual basis.
Yeah.
He says that Justice Eni Yabua was appointed by Mr. Kufuor.
Correct.
Is it true or false?
True.
It's true. He hasn't said anything wrong. He says that a judge, and that's what he said, And I believe that the problem we are having here is that the issue, this specific issue, was taken out of context. It's a long interview. It was taken out of context, you understand? He was asked about the leanings of judges, that does politics have a role to play in, what do you call it, in judgment of such a nature?
No, I think this is what happened. He's talking about thinking that the petition was unmeritorious in the first place and ought to have been dismissed. So he's not surprised. Then Kwesi Pratt says, but if you say that, there were judges who disagreed with your position.
Yeah, but this is a summary. This is a summary. But I'm saying that, yes, exactly. But
gives us the right context.
Yes, exactly. The context, I'm saying that you should put it in context. What he was saying was to the effect that, look, you can't take a judge's political or background, leaning out of his judgment.
Right.
And that is an absolutely important point. Look, when we went into court, and I'm saying this is my last say, let me have my say. When we went into court, there were, I would say, millions of Ghanaian NDC supporters who called us at various times asking us, are you sure that this bench can give you the judgment? And their reason was very simple, that 6 or so of the judges were appointed during the tenure of President Kufuor. You know what we told them? Invariably said, no, we believe we have a good case. So it doesn't really matter before we appear. You understand? That's our position. But it was even worsened by the threats or veiled statements coming from various MPP elements, officials. We're saying, look, we have the judges and all that. Look, for me as a practicing lawyer, I'm used to people using, various strategies to threaten, the other side, intimidate the other side. They can't tell me, we have the judges in my pocket. If you don't have the strength, you abandon the case. You understand? But when people like Awuku and others are said to have been making statements about, we have a bench that is favorable. Fine. There's nothing.
You see, Nana, I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to do
Yes.
something so that we get the discussion in a strict context.
Yes.
I agree. That's all right that you could go out of the immediate environment of this discussion and bring, examples to justify what argument you may be making. But I'm saying we're doing the fact check. You say fact number one.
Yes.
He says Justice Ani Yeboah was appointed by President Kufuor. That is true.
That's true.
Number two, he says consistently voted against the respondents. You were part of the respondents. Is that fact?
Yes. Except that there were situations where he didn't. But, I'm telling you that within the courtroom, there were situations, body language, whatnot, where our people didn't feel comfortable. But I'm saying that we as lawyers had faith in the panel, as a panel. You understand? There were once, look, what were unspoken, and nobody can deny this. There were once or twice, there were some reaction from the, you don't smile, that's true, because you know it. From the NDC's side, I'm coming.
With the greatest of respect.
With the
greatest of respect.
Yes.
Consistently, you are avoiding my question.
No, I'm not. The point I'm making is that the makeup, I'm not saying that Mr. Justice Ani Yeboah is necessarily a pro-MPP or pro-whatnot. I'm saying that Chachu's point is that at a point in time, a judge may tend to fall back into where he came from or how it was done. I will quote this, if you permit me. In the book, this good book, Henry Abraham, Judicial Process, he says, page 66, he said, political and ideological compatibility, if you permit me, often go hand in hand in influencing presidential choices for Supreme Court. Among the points a president is almost certain to consider are whether or not, one, his choice will render him more popular among influential interest groups. 2, the nominee has been a loyal member of the president's party. 3, the nominee favors presidential programs and policies. 4, the nominee is acceptable or at least not personally obnoxious to his home state. 5, the nominee's judicial record, if any, meets the incumbent president's criteria of constitutional construction. 6, the president is indebted to the nominee for past political service. And 7, he feels that the president feels good or comfortable about his choice.
Interesting.
Look, I am saying that I've been involved in this kind of business before. And I know and understand. And no party, no president in the past in this country can say that he simply goes to appoint his, quote, enemy on the bench. You would want to look at the political background, the loyalty, the compatibility. These are all factors in the makeup of a choice. You understand? So we should not run away from it. And I'm saying that that is what Chachu was drawing attention to. Okay. In a 50-50 situation, in the issue that judge, excuse me, in the 50-50 situation, that judge will fall back into where he is. Right. And it may be a situation, even not on political grounds. Okay. We have some judges we claim.
Okay. I think we can deal with this quickly so that my other guests can come in. I'm asking, the judgment in totality, Justice Eni Yeboah is one of those who unanimously voted to dismiss duplicate serial numbers, duplicate polling station codes, and unknown polling stations. Is that correct?
Yes, that is very correct.
Okay, that doesn't sound like consistently against the respondents.
No, certainly not. But I'm saying that no, that is also again taking a literalist view of what Chachu said. But Chachu was speaking in context.
All right.
You see, and I was telling you that we were convinced, and we dissuaded our supporters, millions of supporters, from the position that we had, quote, a hostile bench, because we believed in our case.
Great.
Because we believed that the petition didn't have a good case. Okay. You understand?
And another analysis on this case. 7th February, whilst the case was going on, 7th February, the petitioners make an application.
Yes.
And the application is dismissed.
Yes.
This was an application to produce documents for inspection and to make copies.
Yes.
Those who dismissed it included Justice Eni Yeboah.
Yes.
That's not consistently voting against the respondents.
I'm sorry, but I'm saying that Chachu was raising an academic argument. It wasn't a one-on-one factual to say that it was a debate. I mean, it was having an interview.
Okay.
He granted an interview.
Let me just finish this. Let me just finish this, and then you finish your point. You are familiar with the case of Ransford France versus the Electoral Commission and Attorney General, which judgment came on the 19th of October, 2012.
Yes.
Right. Justice Eni Yeboah was on that bench, and you know the results.
Yeah.
Number 3. You just wait. Number 3. There was this James Amate versus Electoral Commission of Ghana and the Honorable Attorney General. That case too did not succeed against the government. This one judgment was given on the 24th of October, 2012. I'll give you 2 more. The Center for Public Interest Law versus Attorney General, obviously against the government. Justice Eni Yeboah was on it, and it was favorable towards the government. The very final one, Bafo Osei versus the Attorney General. Justice Eni Yeboah was on it, and it was favorable towards the government.
Yeah.
I just want your comment.
What?
I just want your
comment. What? I've read to you this learned treatise, which tells you clearly, and I'm saying it factually, I have been involved in government, as government appoints judges. Same as must have happened in the time of...
and Justice Eni Yeboah was appointed by the Kufuor administration.
Yes, I'm saying
and the cases
that,
I have mentioned to you were against the NDC administration.
But that is because you didn't allow me to land.
Okay, finish.
One of the points that you must understand is that if you appoint a judge, it doesn't necessarily mean that he will vote always for you. Indeed, there's Justice Brandes in the same book. Great Justice Brandes, one of the greatest. He was called a people's lawyer in the U.S. And it was real hell to get him through to be appointed a judge. And the president literally bullied his way, the president, to get him appointed, Wilson. Listen to this. At the end of the day, ironically, despite his convictions regarding the quote curse of bigness, Justice Brandes never wrote an opinion in favor of the government in an antitrust case.
Interesting.
Listen, secondly, I will come back to Ghana. Mr. Justice Ekins, may he rest in peace, died this year. He was the Attorney General in the PNDC era. He was part of the government of PNDC. When the issue of celebrating the PNDC, 31st December, came up, he wrote a lead judgment. He nailed that with the celebration here.
You're right.
So I just want to tell you that, you know, what Chachu said must be put in context. For me as a lawyer, understand it. I'm sure that Mr. Justice Eniyebo understand where Chachu is coming from. Unfortunately, the perception is that he's attacking an individual.
Okay.
And then secondly, as I've said, I mean, maybe if it were a reflection many months after the event, we wouldn't be taking Chachu to the cleaners as the way we do it. But otherwise, I can give you a list of judges who were appointed by government, including somebody, Barima, who was brought from Zambia or somewhere there, you know, immediately after State School, and appointed a Chief Justice when he wasn't even a Supreme Court judge.
Okay.
I mean, way down there.
I'll return to
Deputy Attorney General was appointed, what do you call it, a Supreme Court judge.
I'll return to you and have you answer the last question on this for me.
Yes.
That whether you think the forum Chachu chose is right, knowing that the judges, by their judicial oath, cannot respond publicly, and that there's a channel that you can activate to do such things, make such accusations in the system. Now, Gabi.
Oh, wow. Oh, I thought you would respond earlier.
No, I'll come to you. I want you to think about that one. Yes, Gabi. Yes.
First of all, I think we shouldn't read too much into the political ideologies, even if we know judges. Was it Eisenhower? President Eisenhower, he was asked after he left the presidency whether there are any things that he regrets. And he said there are two, and they are both sitting at the Supreme Court.
Oh, I see.
Yes. He appointed Warren and I think John Brennan. And Warren was a former California governor and actually a vice presidential nominee of the Republican Party in 1948. And the Warren Court was the court that saw to, if you like, the dismantling of segregation, you know, Brown and Board of Education and all those. You know, so, and even the concept of one man, one vote. So really, he thought he was appointing, if you like, conservative judges, and that court, the Warren Court, ended up being the most liberal court, and started this whole process of if you like, equality against segregation and the rest of it. So that it is not always right to say so. Having said that, justices, they vote. You know, they do vote. So if they vote, they'll have preferences. There may be even floating voters here. I've heard reliably that then Mr. William Matuguba filed as a parliamentary candidate of the MPP in 1992. William Matuguba, who is now Justice William Matuguba.
Yes.
Okay, was an MPP parliamentary candidate, I believe, for Bogatanga.
Yeah.
And then 96, helped by the then Chief of Staff, they picked him and sent him straight to the Supreme Court.
But you think that's a fair statement to say?
Helped by the Chief of Staff.
That's helped by him, they picked him and sent him there.
Oh, but is the President nominated?
No, I want to say,
I'm not saying,
I want to suggest that it was not on merit.
Oh, I didn't say it wasn't on merit.
All right.
I would never say that.
Okay.
But I'm saying that, of course, Chief of Staff helps the President to look at, if you like, talents and he will admit it, that he played a role in getting him to the bench, and in fact,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Just looking at this case, just looking at this case.
That's not true.
And getting
Just-
him,
yeah, I'm saying,
to
just looking at this
which
case.
of the benches are you talking about?
He went straight to the Supreme Court.
Straight to the Supreme Court.
Yes.
Okay.
He was never, I don't think he was ever a judge at the High Court. Private lawyer, and then he became prosecutor, I believe, state attorney or so. And then from there he went straight to the Supreme Court.
And again, going straight to the
He's
Supreme
been-
Court
yeah.
is not wrong. It's
I never
perfectly
said that.
happens.
I never said that. I'm just saying. His background, at least in 92.
But I need to correct this.
Yeah.
That I cannot confirm
No problem.
that I was instrumental in getting.
It wouldn't be bad if you were. If you are not,
No,
I'm not
no,
stating
I'm
it
saying,
as
no,
a. No,
just
I get
wait,
your
just
point.
wait.
Yeah.
That I was instrumental in getting him there.
All right.
I would have been part of the processing the documentation because that was my job.
Okay.
Yes.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. But I'm not saying it as a negative.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, so, by even going by this judgment, would you say that Justice Atuguba showed some political bias to the MPP or the petitioners? I doubt that very much. So I find it difficult to...
Or for the MPP because he was a candidate.
I said for the MPP.
Okay.
I didn't say for the NDC. I will reserve my comments on that. So I think really we shouldn't read too much into that.
I've
Having
heard
said that-
many
having said that,
MPP
yeah.
leaders and communicators.
Yeah.
They've been very blunt about it. That
About-
indeed, Justice Atuguba ought to be accused of consistently being biased against
Well, I
them.
mean, they're allowed to have their opinion. I mean, that's their opinion. I mean, yes, and they're entitled to it. I'm not going to take it away from them. And I'm sure they can show voting patterns to support that. But that's their opinion.
And you agree to that sort of analysis?
Agree to...
With your training,
why do
do
I have
you
to
agree
accept
to that
somebody's
sort of-
analysis? I'm not here to accept anybody's analysis. I'm here to make my own analysis. So let me get to my analysis. Let me get to my analysis. I think Mr. Chikata's point actually inures to the benefit of President Kufuor. Because going by that logic, then it appears that he did an Eisenhower. He voted, he brought people to the Supreme Court that he thought they were for his party. Because 6 of his appointees, in terms of the 6 categories of infractions, okay, all of them did not find in favor, none of them find totally in favor of the petitioners. So you would say there are 3 who found 3 in favor of the petitioners. So you could say that at least them, they're neutral. They are not party political. Then, of course, there's 1 who found 2 for the petitioners and 4 not for the petitioners. And there's 1 who found 5 not for the petitioners and 1 for the petitioners. And then you go to the other side. You will find the other side, the majority, perhaps. I'm not too sure even if they're the majority, but we'll get into that later. You get to the other side. You have NDC appointees, Justice Atuguba. He found all 6 against the petitioners.
No, I think it's the need for correction. They were not NDC appointees. They could have been persons who were appointed
by the government.
Yes.
Okay,
That's
I
not
accept the correction.
Yes.
I accept it.
They are not.
Persons appointed by a president who happened to be NDC. Is that fair?
Yes, in line with your argument.
Okay.
They wouldn't necessarily vote for the NDC.
Okay.
That's your argument.
No, I'm not making that. I'm just making my analysis.
Go ahead.
Okay.
He's only correcting it.
No,
correcting it.
you're allowed to correct my analysis, of course. There what? 3 of them: Justice Atuguba, Justice Badegbe, Justice Vida Akoto-Banfo. All 3 of them found absolutely no merit in the case of the petitioners. So going by that logic, then it appears that President Kufuor's appointees were rather more objective than NDC president's appointees. But we don't want to spend too much time on that. Mr. Chikata is an experienced lawyer. He has said things that even the President of the Republic appears not to be happy with it. It's unfortunate, if you like, that after this court case, that has been the major issue.
And your party is accused of doing what it criticizes or condemns Chachu for doing.
Which
because after the statement by Chachu Chikata, after the accusation by Chachu Chikata, you would find a consistent, as if it were a policy for communication about the verdicts.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
So he sort of opened the floodgates. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Does that guarantee, if you say he's wrong, does that guarantee continuing the wrong?
I'm asking you, and I think we are both being rhetorical here. You are asking questions, I'm asking questions. You said after he said that, he sort of opened the floodgates. We have this political environment of tit for tat, whichever way you look at it. It is there, in terms of even my little thing I said.
Little.
We'll
get to that. We'll get to that. There are those who think you are now seeking to rationalize.
No, I'm just saying.
So you finish. We'll
my
get
little
to
thing
that.
I said was used to what? Somehow, is it equalize what Mr. Chikata said. So you have this sort of tit for tat politics that we have. But clearly, I don't think it did any favors to his case. I mean, was it H.K. Premper who wrote? He said, it's bad enough being a sore loser, but to be a sore winner, it creates the impression that you don't even believe you won. Anyway, that's fine.
All right.
I'm surprised. The examples Nana Tudaisi gave relative to Justice Akins and what he did in the course of the 31st December case is what nails Chachu completely. That's what makes what Mr. Chikata said terminally unsustainable, inexcusable.
Terminally?
Unsustainable. Completely inexcusable. Such a deficit in logic and any statistical analysis of the issue he was raising. Look, it's legitimate to discuss what he calls lack of judicial balance or judicial partiality or bias. These are legitimate issues that can be raised and discussed. And indeed, our history has examples of such issues having come up over the years, in many cases. So that is not the issue.
So people are saying, what is the problem? Because, for example, if you go to America, lawyers study a certain jurisprudence to predict what the Supreme Court will do before they go there. And they are looking at their ideological...
That's why I'm saying in principle, there's nothing wrong to raise an issue of judicial balance or lack of judicial balance or judicial partiality and discuss it. And if you want to single out judges within that context, then you come with something of evidential value to prove your point, or you risk scandalizing them beyond repair. So you have the right to raise the issue, and you have the right to even target a particular judge or justices and say they are guilty of lack of judicial balance. But in so doing, you must give us evidence to that effect. Otherwise, it's wrong. And I'm being charitable saying it's wrong. I'm looking for a harsher way of describing it. Now let's look. You may.
Don't provide the word.
Now let's be specific.
Yeah.
That's how you look at it. When it comes to these issues, you look at each issue on its own merit. Otherwise, generalization won't help anybody.
All right.
Now, what is it that Mr. Chikata was talking about? He singles out Justice Eni Yabua for what he claims to be lack of judicial balance on his part. Indeed, he didn't restrict himself to just this presidential election petition. Within the context of the presidential election petition, obviously, he got his mathematics and statistics wrong. And I won't waste my time belaboring that point. You have proved some here. So, in that key sense, he's wrong. Now, he went for a case that he was involved in, the IFC immunity thing, and said that decision, and it was a court of appeal, So it wasn't only any Yabwa, I suppose so.
But he wrote the lead judgment.
It doesn't matter. There were 3 of them there.
He wrote the judgment.
Yes,
so
but there were 3. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know, but there were 3. I haven't checked those others, but I know for sure there would have been 3. He goes for that case and talks about the fact that the man went quoting or referring to an IMF statute instead of an IFC one, and to that extent ruled that IFC had immunity and could not be compelled as a witness for Tashi Chiketa. Is that not the issue?
That is so.
That could be a fundamental error of law on the part of a judge. You could analyze that, and that's why we have the appellate structure, and deal with it in a very legal manner to show why a particular, and Justice Eninia in his Court of Appeal, that panel would not have been the first Court of Appeal panel to have committed an error that was subsequently cured by the Supreme Court. So if it is a legitimate case of an error of law that you are dealing with, deal with it. He sought to link that particular judgment and Eniyabua's rule to what he claimed to be the consistency of his voting pattern in this particular case. First of all, we've seen that there is a certain disjoint. It's not true that he could link the two. Then when you go for the Eniyabua, the IFC thing, where is the politics? He linked that to what he claimed to be political loyalty based on the source of appointment. All what we are discussing here about ideological and political orientations of judges in the US and the rest, that's not coming to this statute thing. He's made a specific case. The specific case being that this particular judge, in erring, if you like, on the IFC immunity thing, did so because of who appointed him. He should be put to strict proof to deal with that issue, to convince us. He hasn't been able to convince us. And we have people rationalizing that and trying to bring it within the broader context of, yes, we can discuss judges in terms of their general political, ideological orientation. That's an escapist route. We shouldn't allow that to happen. That's a cowardly route to take. People are running away from responsibility. In any case, when that case went to the Supreme Court, it was dismissed in part. Or would you say upheld in part? In the sense that the Supreme Court said that the IFC as a corporate entity had no immunity, but its directors had immunity. So really, and it was 3-2. Incidentally, those who voted 3, the majority was Sophia Kufu, Sophia Adinira, and Julius Ansam. 2 of them are in this panel. Those in the minority was Atuguba and Vida Akoto Banfu. They are also on this panel. How do you connect the two? Am I to go for the absurdity and suggest that those who voted in his favor are people linked to him or his party? You see, there's no sense in it. Please, let's not for one moment rationalize what he did. It's a gaffe of gargantuan proportion, inexcusable, no basis for anybody.
These words from Google.
You? Look, let's be honest. It's a gaffe. Oh. Forget the timing and everything, which itself was serious. The essence, the substance of what a great legal mind like Mr. Chikata put out there is not something we should come and sit here and rationalize. We cannot. Well, and we dare not.
Nana, now this one, yes, in a minute, can you tell me, the question is also coming up about the choice of the forum. If you think he didn't do anything wrong, was it right to use that forum, knowing the judge cannot answer in that forum?
I just want to say in a moment, but I don't like the way you have introduced the judge into that forum. You understand? Even though Mr. Chakata raised it, I remember Kweku said that this after judgment embargo that people are seeking to enforce should not entertain it. This is a democratic state. You understand? Whether it is an interview or whatever, if according to him, he is not comfortable with it, as another matter. But I don't think that we should limit it to the fact that it was an interview. It could have been an interview. It could have been a critique. In fact, it's going to happen at the law school law schools for the next 150 years. They will be analyzing each single judgment, and some may be more uncharitable than some what others are saying. You understand? Once a judge writes his judgment, he's out. You understand? He cannot stop people from criticizing. I have said, and I want to be on record as saying that whenever you put a man on the Supreme Court, he ceases to be your friend. And I'm sure of that. That's what Harry Truman says.
All right.
And then the other guys, it's not from a book, you know.
No, I thought that was a perfect quote on which we can move on to Gabi's statement.
So, but just, if you permit me, but Kweku's point, I take part of it in good faith, and that the mix of voting of the judges will really undermine anybody who will also say that the so-called other side,
right,
voted because they were appointed by NDC.
I agree.
You agree with that?
I agree with you.
So now we should come back to the substance.
Great.
And I think that is a better platform than arguing this individual case.
Critically
We'll come
scrutinizing
to
what
Gabi's
Mr.
point.
Chikata said.
Great.
Right.
Now, Gabi,
Now what were you saying?
you said, unlike Chachu, you say your focus was on the judgment and not on the judges.
Yeah.
And you said it was a corrupt judgment.
Oh, yeah, victory. Yes. That's what I said. Now, first of all, there is no question in my mind, and I believe in all Ghanaians, perhaps, that the Supreme Court has declared, and that declaration holds. I personally listened to Akufo-Addo yesterday, repeating that they are not going for review. So let's just get that out of the way. Any critique of the decision is not to, if you like, challenge the validity of the president's election, because that is done. Whatever we are doing here, as far as I'm concerned, is academic. But it may also be useful for future decisions, because, I mean, I'll be very surprised if in future cases it is the majority decision that will be upheld. But that's neither here nor there. Yes, I said the decision was corrupt, and I still think that the majority decision is a corrupt one. Corrupt in a sense that when there's an entrenched constitutional provision and the Supreme Court is the body that the Constitution has said that, look, you protect the Constitution. Make sure that we all adhere to the Constitution. And then when it comes to a matter of interpretation or giving force to an entrenched, clear constitutional provision, then you have Supreme Court justices going beyond that clear wording to go and seek refuge in like a case in Canada, Opitz, which was a challenge between an act of parliament against a constitutional provision, a charter. And then they uphold the charter. Then you go and seek refuge there and find all manner of words to downplay the constitutional provision. I think it's a corruption of the Constitution, and it's a dangerous route for a Supreme Court to take. And I'm I don't intend to apologize. And I don't see anything wrong with that. Beyond that, when the Supreme Court...
The question is, if you didn't see anything wrong with it, you appear to have been afraid that it may not have been correct.
Afraid? No, because I saw the comments.
You went forward to say...
I saw the comments.
That they could invite you.
Yes.
After all, your grandpa was incarcerated for standing for his convictions.
I said he died in jail.
In jail for standing for his convictions.
No, because people, I had phone calls from even well-wishers. Hey, Gabi, they will call you. And I'm thinking, really? So what is the big deal? What is the worst thing they can do to me? I will go there and defend myself. If they think that it is such a major issue for them, what's the worst thing they can do to me? Throw me into jail? Or what? Say I'm no longer a lawyer? And I'm saying that my own grandpa died in jail for his conviction. He wasn't able to practice again. So what is it? What is it that they can do to me?
That there is an expectation that
I mean,
you as a lawyer,
but I'm saying,
must be aware of the limits.
I don't think that I've gone anywhere near the limit. Let them come and take me, if that's how they feel, that they're beyond criticism. And look, even the presiding judge accuses effectively 4 of his own colleagues, brothers and sisters, of endorsing something that was fraudulent. Justice William Atuguba, in the judgment, accuses his own brothers and sisters of endorsing something that is fraudulent. I'm just saying.
I want to put in perspective that you are seeking to say he accused them, but he didn't accuse them. Let me read the statement. Let me read it. He says, in this case, it would be unfair and fraudulent for the petitioners to authenticate the results through their polling agent signatures and turn round to seek to invalidate on the purely technical ground of absence of presiding officer's signature.
Absolutely.
That is not an accusation.
No, I said effectively.
Now,
let me explain it to you. What he said will be fraudulent. 4 of his own colleagues endorsed. So what does that mean? So they have what? Endorsed something that is fraudulent? Petitioners come to court to enforce a constitutional provision, and you, the presiding judge, can accuse them of a fraudulent act.
Hold on.
Please. I mean, if
Alex,
you want
let me hear you on this. Let me hear you on this.
I think that Gabi is treading on dangerous waters.
Really? Let me
thread
on it.
Is my brother.
Yeah, but leave me to thread on it.
Well, okay.
And let them deal with me.
But
that's how we work in this country.
I don't have a problem.
That we don't have a freedom of expression in this country. If I see something wrong, I cannot say it and say it in the harshest tone that I can.
Okay, Gabi, sorry, your point
without
is made.
necessarily taking any charge on.
Your point is made. Let's hear him.
You see, when you started with the first element, what was my initial statement? I said it depends on the hat you wear when you want to look at these issues. Any person who is on the NDC side listening to Gabi will ask the first question, why is anybody talking about Chachu's matter? Because in the same way, the critique, if I was to follow Kweku's Baku's critique, I don't understand where Gabi is coming from. Why do I say that? The first statement Gabi said was that this judgment is corrupt. At the time when he made the statement, he didn't explain what he meant.
I did.
Well, if you did.
On Facebook, I did. Please.
Well, listen, it was made in the studio, wasn't it?
No, I made it in Facebook.
Okay.
I'll tell you, I did. So,
now, it was on Facebook and then it was picked and a story was done out of it on my job online.
I stand corrected. When Gabi made the statement about it being corrupt, or we heard it, one, it would have been better for Gabi to have qualified it properly. Because when you say a judgment is corrupt, when there were actually potentially 6 judgments in one, you are actually saying that the whole thing. Now, based on even his example that he gives now, where he singles out one aspect, which is signature of presiding officers, as the aspect which, what he's saying is that 4 of the judges who decided that it was fundamental are correct, but the other 5 are corrupt. The reason why I have a problem with Gabi's language is that corrupt is a criminal term. It is not
like fraudulent.
Exactly. It is a criminal term.
He's saying he's using it
not
against the judges. But he's using it if
5 judges made a decision.
He's saying
which he does not agree with.
In terms
and he says
of,
it is corrupt.
If you can hear me, just a line. Yes. He's saying that I am saying there is a corruption of the Constitution. The Constitution has a mandatory provision.
He didn't say that. He said there's a corruption of the judgment. Don't say that. It's not a corruption of the Constitution.
His explanation gives me that understanding.
Well, the point is that, for me, it is a change. He's moving his goalpost. He is moving his goalpost.
If you had followed my Facebook, you would know that I haven't.
Well, this is my view.
Well, but you haven't been following it, so you can't say that I'm shifting the goalpost.
He's not alone in that. Let him make his point.
But I shouldn't say I'm shifting the goalpost.
The word corrupt that you used
yeah.
was, for me, fundamentally flawed.
And the explanation is an afterthought.
And the explanation is, for me, it doesn't even help issues. But that is Gabi. And that is why I'm saying, if you put on a political hat, I can see where he's coming from. And I know his people, some people even defend him and say, well, this, that, and that, because they are putting on a political hat. But if you put on your patriotic hat, you have to say that the statement was unfortunate. It is not a statement that should have been made. It put the whole judiciary into disrepute. I could use exactly the same harsh words that Kweku has just used. So I'm going to listen to his rendition and see how he's going to do political gymnastics in this one or not. As to, well, yes, because I actually don't see even the word that he used, for me, is more damning, excuse me to say, than bias, which is what people are inferring from Chachu's, statement, that the judge had certain biases because of where he was appointed, blah, blah, blah. But to say that it was corrupt, for me, if a judge is saying that petitioners, people who have come before him, he feels that it was a fraudulent act, that is the judge's prerogative. He can say that. But he's not accusing. I don't
have an opinion.
He's not accusing this thing. But you are saying that they are fraudulent.
He's asking you a question. Why can he?
I don't have an opinion.
Why can he, who has an equal stake?
So does he agree?
Who has an equal stake in the Republic?
So can I ask you?
Who enjoys the same rights as the judge?
This is why. No, Samson, you remember, and I was giving my rendition. Yeah. I said, if the people who made the first allegation against the judge apologize or accept that they did something wrong, if Gabi accepts that they did something wrong, then it is rational to say to Chachu, yes, maybe you also did something wrong, all of you. But if you have everybody standing on their marks, because all that is happening is that people are putting on political hats,
right?
And if that is the position, yes, it is.
Well, okay.
So, and if you have done that, then for me, you cannot criticize. He has no basis for criticizing. The only reason why, for example,
thank you, Alex, I'm just hoping that you are not corrupting Judge Gabi's comments. Now we take a break here. We take a break here.
My iPad is correct.
We take a break here, and when we return, I'll have Kweku Baako speak to this matter. Yes, I'll have Kweku Baako speak to this matter, and my question is: can Gabi's comments be justified, knowing he had not the benefit of the judgment at the time?
Exactly.
We'll be right back.
Oh, of course.
Thank you very much for staying with us. This is Newsfile on Joy 99.7 FM. We are coming to you live from the Multi-TV studios. This is your Joy News channel. 1422 is the text line. You can send us your comments and you can post them on our Facebook wall as well. And you can also send them to newsfile@myjoyonline.com. Now, Kweku, my question that I put to you, and I must acknowledge that there are loads of comments saying that you appear to have done quite good research in the submissions you are making.
As always.
And again, there are those who say, and if you like, let me just read one of them. It says, the elderly in this country should be very careful of their posture, demeanor, and positions on political issues in this country. Gradually, they are losing their influence on we, the youth. And I wonder what it will come to when such influence is totally lost. There are suggestions that
the spectacles they are wearing.
There are suggestions that some of you are just going round and round and not sticking to it.
Exactly.
Now, Kweku, let's hear.
Quick one. With regards to the IFC thing I was talking about, the other two judges whose names I couldn't readily recollect, Ketsi Esankoma. I realized they are S.E. Kanyoki,
right,
and F. Kwesi Apia,
right.
They were the two other judges. And then Gabi made a certain interesting point about Mr. Tugoba. I don't go for it in a mischievous way, but the fact there is this list of judges and magistrates as at May 2009. William A. Atugoba, that is date of enrollment, was 3rd October 1974.
As a magistrate?
Yes. Date of first appointment to the bench, 30th November 1995.
Great.
date of present appointment, then May 2009, was 30th November 1995.
Great.
And on that time, it was 13 years. What it means is that what Gabi said was right. Because you see, date of first appointment to the bench was 30th November 1995.
Okay. Where I had a problem was that he said he was straight to the Supreme Court. But
yeah, but what I find
sort
significant
of knew that he had been a magistrate.
Yeah, but watch. Yeah. Of course, that is clear. But watch this one. It says date of present appointment. Present appointment as at May 19, 2009 was the Supreme Court, as it is today.
All right.
And it's the same date.
Okay. Oh, I see. Great.
Yeah, I mean, the bench.
Great.
And the final one.
But there's a magistrate's court bench.
Mr. Segwefia made a point about in Chachu's case, there was some noise about the conviction, and that there was this talk about natural justice having been violated. Well, to put it on record, that matter went before the Supreme Court. Mr. Cheketa, if you recall, filed an application for the Supreme Court to quash his conviction. And the issue of the purported violation of his human rights, as well as the lack of natural justice, came up, and he lost. The Supreme Court, October 16, 2008, they gave the reasons 24th October 2008 to the effect that based on the records of proceedings at the trial court up to their level, there had been no violation of his fundamental human rights, and that there had been no violation of natural justice.
Right.
This particular decision stands unchallenged as we speak.
It
stands unchallenged as we speak.
Yeah. If we can move on. You see, this
now
issue
let's
has come
move
up
on
over
to
again,
yes.
over and again.
These are records. I have the judgment
in
here
our
anyways.
political discourse in this country.
He is giving the impression that I said something which I didn't.
Oh, you did?
What I said was that judgments have been made which have been criticized. And I gave as an example that this thing, whether or not it was in favor or against or whatever, I said that even our political party had been critical of that judgment and the judge.
Thank you.
At the time.
Thank you.
So I'm not making
the natural justice was missing. And I'm saying that issue came before the Supreme Court.
Okay. He's saying they criticized that.
The Supreme Court did not uphold the issue.
Great. Let's go.
Now to Gabi. I've had my chat with him already. There's no way I can defend Gabi's write-up. First of all, the choice of word. He's explained about it being corruption of the constitutional provision and everything. I think that Gabi was indiscreet, imprudent, and it cannot be sustained. He's explained himself. But my view, in my candid view, and the very moment I saw that thing on Facebook, indeed, I didn't see it on his page. I saw it somewhere. I commented on them and made my position clear that what had been put out by Gabi, if indeed was true, was something one cannot defend and sustain. The timing was bad. The choice of the word corrupt was also bad. I stand at risk of being hypocritical here. I described the Mona judgment, particularly relative to the public holiday side, as devoid of common sense. And I was told I was being very harsh. So I shouldn't be somebody who should be taking on Gabi. There's that risk of being hypocritical. But I think the choice of word and the timing, and because of where he comes from, where he's positioned, I believe Gabi should have exercised some greater level of circumspection in how he described the judgment. That's my candid opinion. It cannot be sustained.
Thank you, Nana. You have a very last one on this.
Yes, well, just a quick one. I think that Gabi has tried to dilute or corrupt the word he used, the word corrupt.
In fact,
in terms of his...
In fact, he didn't only use corrupt,
but he said farcical.
Yeah.
That is the point I'm coming to. You see, he can dilute the corrupt, but what about farcical? Farcical has a very clear meaning. You know, what the judges sat down doing was no joke. It wasn't a farce. You can't say that that's a farcical act. Indeed, you have 9 judges, and I'm saying that I suspect that Gabi must have come to this conclusion rather too early, because he probably didn't have advantage of reading the judgment in detail.
It's actually it's confirmed my position.
Yeah, okay. Okay. If no, listen. I move on to the next point. That if after reading the judgment, he still stands by his conclusion that the judgment or the totality of it was corrupt and farcical, then I'll borrow Koku's words. Then there's a deficit not only in logic but in legal knowledge. Yeah. Honestly. Because
that's your opinion.
Oh, no, that's absolutely. Because I had a certain opinion about this judgment myself. I've spent some time reading each and every single judgment, and I'm impressed by the amount of work the 9 judges put in. Look, they differed, but they differed on legal grounds. One group was following a literalist view. The other group was following the modern purposive approach.
We'll get into that, but you may not be correct because they are not saying they followed literalist view.
No, they don't need to.
In fact, some of the members of the majority proclaim that they are following a purposive, benevolent, broad approach. Yes, but some say that rather appears to be the other way.
Yeah, but I'm saying that you could see that at least whatever it is, they were following clear legal principles in coming to their conclusion.
All right.
And that Gabi cannot take away from them. I think that they did a good job. They did a good job. They disagreed. That's why they were expected to. They are expected to be 9. You know, and as far as I'm concerned, where they agreed. 90, 90, 90. There was nothing they could do about it. But when it comes, I was talking about the 50-50 situation, they take position depending upon their upbringing, their outlook, and all that.
Thank you.
When government officials like my brother, the Deputy Minister for Interior, deny the problem, that's even more pathetic. Because the problem is there. At least acknowledge it. And then talk about what you want to do or what you are doing. And then we can deal with the effectiveness of what you are doing. But when you come and try to tell us that it is not a credible thing, it doesn't exist, it makes the situation even more sad. Because, my brother, Ghana Integrity Initiative, the famous Corruption Perception Index, the last report showed that Ghana corruption was getting worse in Ghana. Gallup has also come out. We are being told that Gallup is not credible. So who is credible? The government of Ghana? You see, they say, they rank Ghana among countries, liberal countries with free press, and that was the sample of countries were 10 and not 180, as some of the reports. I can deal with that. But Samson, when you have a scale of 100, 0 to 100, 0 being excellent and 100 being the worst, and my country scores 83. 83 by any standard of measurement, whether it's BC, whether it's WASI, whether it's O level, whether it's whatever, 83%. 83. It's bad. And look, one famous pastor, I think it's Duncan Williams also, the last time, he described corruption going on as a curse. The Presby Church, they issued one of their statements recently. They said corruption in Ghana is pervasive and pathetic. The Supreme Court of Ghana itself, our Lord Justices, they said that there's a system to create, to loot, and to share. These are very strong words coming from judges.
One of them said.
Yes, Amidou, one of them. Amidou, the former Attorney General. He said there's clear connivance and collusion to rob taxpayers' money. Tony Edu, he said that if government was showing the same speed in fighting corruption or collecting the money as it showed in paying out the money, the situation would have been much better. Alban Bakbi, yesterday or so.
Okay.
So these are government people
you take the Gallup verdicts very seriously.
No, I'm saying that
a scale of 0 to 100,
Right.
where 100 is the worst. If my country measures 83, but I'm saying it's not just Gallup. People in this country, members of the NDC.
Okay. This is supposed to be brief. We'll get to the other details now. Could you?
Yeah. Well, like Kweku said, we all acknowledge that this country, we are not out of the woods when it comes to issues of corruption. It's so endemic. And my challenge has to do with our quick attempt to smear everything on government and, for that matter, politicians. You know, Nana was talking about a judge acknowledgement of corruption and also what creates loot and share. We all know the judiciary as an institution. Even the Chief Justice herself acknowledges that there's corruption so endemic right there. So for me, like I said, it's more of an attitudinal issue than governmental, if I should put it that way. Because the issues we are dealing with here, the name, I'm sure we'll come to those subjects, as you said. But for what will I say, service like this, once in a while when they come, they are good. So it awakens our response to, you know, these issues. Unfortunately,
the perception was perception of government corruption.
Yes.
It was not the one that includes
which one is government? Which one is government corruption? I want to understand what is government
corruption in the high places.
Please, government corruption. The man who raised the JIDA issue, whoever sanctions the payment or approves the payment and all, is he a government official? So please, I want to understand something. It involves people some of whom don't have anything to do with politics. They are there to play their role either as civil servant, public servant, or whatsoever. So I want to understand what government corruption means. Okay, is it that the corruption that the president is involved, or the minister is involved, or the deputy minister is involved? We are talking about 2012, April, May. That was when the sampling was done. Who exactly were they referring to when they meant government? Then it was this Woyome issue that had been drummed every blessed day, especially Nana Kumia and his then communication team members. Woyome left, Woyome right, they made songs out of it. Okay. And for me, that is how I understand this whole...
is Woyome a perception?
Please, you are not the moderator.
But we're having a discussion.
You see, those days when we didn't have this kind of press freedom, or let me say, proliferation of FMs, television, newspapers, and all of that, the same things we are seeing today were happening. How were they reported? Today, one issue comes up. Almost every newspaper wants to write about it. Every radio station wants to talk about it. TV stations, reporters are, reporting it. So certainly, when that issue comes up and the whole Ghana knows about it, and it's propagated continuously for 1 year plus, what will we be talking about? Corruption everywhere. Meanwhile, we are referring to one case.
I see. Just hold on now for me. I'm going to go to bring you this sound. So I'm bringing you the boss of the Ghana Revenue Authority. He had some reaction or explanations to give in respect of the Suba Info Solutions matter that came out. I'm sure you're aware of it, that the country had paid some money in excess or in the region of 144 million to that particular entity to monitor international calls, and to be able to track and get the monies giving back. He came to give the explanation that actually
that amount of money was not what went out. The ministry has stopped the payment at a certain point in time. When we are done with him, we'll tell you what Alban Gbagbe thinks about the fight against corruption, and then we'll deal with these matters together. So listen to Judge Blankson.
In making the calculations and also in making the payment and determining the payment to be made, we were very, very meticulous in following a procedure that would ensure credibility of the payment, to the extent that no single payment was made without seeking ministerial approval for that particular payment. It's all on record. This is a situation where to go into the records, which in this case is an electronic record of all the calls, to go through that, you must be able to have the expertise and the equipment to track each one of the calls and eventually to establish that this is the situation, that the companies are not declaring what they should declare. You should be able to do that. But GRA, like most revenue authorities in the world, has not got neither the equipment nor expertise. So what revenue authorities do, and this you can check worldwide, is to hire a company that has the equipment and the expertise to do that as an agent of the tax administration. The agreement is between the SY Revenue Agencies Governing Board and the SUBA. It's not even the GRA. So at the time that I took office, the process had virtually been concluded. And when it was signed, I just witnessed it. So it had been done before I came into office. What I did was to ensure that had it gone through all the due processes, it wasn't within my purview to justify. And in any case, I was not the one signing it.
All right, you just heard Judge Blankson, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Revenue Authority, and he has come under some flack for attempting to run away from responsibility in respect of, he's a Commissioner General, thank you very much, Commissioner General, who is, being criticized for trying to run away from responsibility in respect of that big issue. Would return to it into detail. Now, let's listen to Alban Gbagbe, one of the president's three wise men who is supposed to help the president in the priority projects, prosecute his priority projects. Let's hear what he thinks the fight against corruption is really about at the level of the presidency.
Our country today is corruption. He talked about the fact that we need leadership, and in this case, political leadership to deal with it. Do you think we have it today to be able to deal with corruption in this country?
Well, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen the leadership to deal with corruption?
No. I haven't seen it.
Why do you say that?
Well, we've all heard of a lot of allegations in the country. We've heard of the steps that have been taken, which I must say are not the right steps. There's setting up of committees to investigate and that kind of thing. That is not the right step. From my submissions, you will see that I'm relying more on the institution that we have established and giving the mandate to investigate cases and to carry out the necessary processes, either to prosecute them or otherwise. We have seen that. That is not what is happening. And so people are somehow encouraged to do what they are doing. When we go for politics and we are trying to mobilize resources and you have people coming with huge amounts for candidates to go and campaign, and you are not asking questions, you are encouraging them to do what they are doing. Even when after elections, appointments are being made and you are seeing strange faces and strange names, and the only evidence you get is that they donated this amount this day. What are you encouraging? We know genuine businessmen don't spend money that way.
Well, Mr. Alban Gbagbe has subsequently added that he's been trying to get the president to speak to about some of these matters, but he doesn't get him. So what he did was to call him up one day and tell him, you know what, since I can't get you to advise you in private, I'll start advising you in public. He's had issues with that, and we've gotten some reactions from the presidency, all over on social network particularly, and officially from people who handle the president, say that he told a blatant lie in respect of that issue. We will be getting into all of that. But Mr. Dwasser, I start with you on this issue. You take the Suba issue. I don't know what you think about it now. There are people who say this was a clear way to steal the country's money. You're talking about an entity you say you entered into a contract with who was supposed to do a job and needed to be able to tap into the telcos, their system, to be able to do the monitoring. It never got to do this, and yet it was paid. And we are being told that they were paid for the incremental, revenue that was made as a result of their work. Gbagwin has also stated that the JIDA matters. You didn't need to have the president come in at all. All of this, you should have stuck to the institutions that were supposed to deal with them.
Well, this Suba issue, we need some clarity to be able to get to know the details.
What specific issues do you want clarity on?
Certainly, everybody seems to have a perspective. Okay, the various reports that we've had or we've heard, and nobody seems to have the real facts on the ground. People are speculating back and forth.
No, I'm sure we have gone beyond speculation.
No,
now
please, even with the figures,
because they have put out some
even with the
information.
figures, you put up 144 million. But we are also hearing something in the region of 70.
Yes, that's
you understand?
So that's what the GRA boss says.
Certainly. So
that the payment was stopped by the finance minister at a point.
Right.
So far, that's how much they have paid.
But the point I'm making is that the speculation, even when you started the promo for
it's
this,
not speculation, it's official information that's been given to us, unless you don't want to believe it.
No, you said 144. That's what I'm saying.
And I added that the minister we have also been informed that the minister stopped the payment. I added that.
Yes, wonderful. I'm saying that. So the issue is, people are saying all manner of things. The 144 seemed to sound good in the ears of some group of people. And so they don't even mention the 70. Okay, which has been confirmed by the GRA boss himself. So, like I said, there are various facets of the issue that I think it requires a lot more information. Some of us have also heard different things. Okay, that somebody is out to vilify somebody. We've heard all of these things. Whether they are true or not is another matter. Some people have that school of thought that the telcos have ganged up to smoke out Suba Info Solutions. Just because they also think that once those gadgets are fitted, some revenue that have not found its way to government will end up, or they'll be exposed and all of those. So these are all issues that are going, and I think it requires some kind of investigation so that we all get to the bottom of these issues. Everybody's not picking or people are not picking the parts that suit them. Okay, of course the Commissioner General's responses also, in my opinion, didn't solve. I mean, there was this point where he was trying to pass the buck to probably someone.
Every payment that was done was endorsed by the minister.
Right.
He only came to meet the contract.
Right.
He only witnessed the contract.
So I think
don't bring him too much into it.
I think that part, it doesn't sound too good. I'll have to admit that, because we have what we call the collective responsibility. And once you take charge, because when you go to the Public Accounts Committee, those usually the issues that will be reviewed or the reports that will be reviewed.
Did you mean ultimate or collective responsibility in this matter?
Sorry, ultimate responsibility, because he is the Commissioner General. There were predecessors. There were reports that were handed over to him, so that if he had any challenge, he could have made or cross-checked or sought clarifications here and there. And there were certain decisions that, of course, if he didn't want to make, he could have, stated that very
clearly. Is it your
clearly.
view that something was wrong with this particular contract?
I don't want to sit here and make that.
There's sufficient information out there now for you to be able to make up your mind on that. You should have a view on this.
No, my view is that the information we have is check it. It's not clear. There are certain clarifications that have to be made. Okay, and no, as for instance, we think that for now the heat has gone to the finance ministry, the GRA, and what we don't have is probably the perspective from the what would I call it? Those that this thing was supposed to affect, or who was supposed to run this whole
thing.
So
hold on briefly. I'll return to you, Nana. What aspect of this whole arrangement with GRA and SUBA do you find, is questionable?
Well, Samson, it is still a clear case of government failure. The commissioner said that, yes, there is the commercial need for verification to be done. So that is clear. And so there was a contract. Yes, all of us can testify to the need for verification. And it's not just with the telcos. When you go to the ports, you have companies like GCNet providing verification services for tax purposes and all of that. So fine, there is the commercial need for that service. Good.
You're talking about verification of international calls.
No, not I'm coming to that. Okay. Even with the telcos, government already has a service contract with a company that verifies or is supposed to verify international calls.
Right.
I think it's called GVG or something. So they go ahead to extend the same service contract with a company to monitor local calls, and that is SUBA. But you see, where the failure comes in is this. Before GVG can effectively monitor the calls, or before SUBA can effectively monitor the calls and give you government accurate information about the volume of calls so you can make your tax assessment, they need to plug in to the data centers of the telcos. The people are not able to plug in to the data centers of the telcos, both the company monitoring the international calls and the company monitoring the local calls. Now, in that situation, how are they going to give you government an accurate information? So right from the day one, there's a deficiency.
But you are told that the telcos submit, their CD-ROMs or whatever they are for this company to validate the extent of calls and to calculate how much it's supposed to come to government in that regard.
It is that same information that the telcos submit to you that you want verified. That is why you set up a service contract to give you independent verification. Now, if the companies are going to rely on the same information that the telcos are providing, where is the verification?
So it was a useless contract. You didn't need it.
No, I'm saying that it raises the questions. You see, I'm not because you had the GRA boss saying that there was still some value addition, and he actually went ahead to give figures that before these companies came, this was the level of the revenue, and since they came, so there still may be some value addition. But you see, the questions will not have arisen because one of the main questions that is arising is that if the people cannot plug in, government, how do you don't deal with that problem? So people are raising issues. We've even heard that there's an amendment to allow the companies to plug in now to the data centers of the telcos. That amendment came several months ago. They obviously have still government has not facilitated their plugging in. So
clear government failure. Now, if we are even to accept from the GRA man that there has been value addition, I believe the GRA could help the situation.
Do you accept that in the first place, that there has been value addition?
I don't have any evidence.
No, I thought that we knew in this country that the revenue, as far as the telcos are concerned, has been growing. You don't need a GRA to come and audit anything to make it grow.
You see, to make that categorical admission would be saying that the GRA man is lying. I can't make that categorical allegation now.
What signs do you need to be able to make that,
Oh, the man has come out to say that the revenues have increased. Now
we have been here in this country with the telcos, and we have been aware of the increments every year.
Now, you are saying that, and not just you, many people are saying so, that any increment that is being reported by GRA, in the absence of proper verification, those increments could be coming from increase in numbers, increase in data usage, broadband, and so on, which could also be true. So I would, when my brother talked about other issues that have to be clarified, and I asked him what issues, my take is that the GRA, for example, should be able to tell Ghanaians that in the 24 months, because these service verification agreements came in 2010.
2010, yep.
So 2009, 2010, the 2 years, give us the revenues. Then if you're able to give us the revenues, say 12 months before and 12 months after, audited revenues. And if there's a clear case of departure, every Ghanaian can see it. Because otherwise, what you are saying is valid, that increases may be due to the numbers signing on, or they may be due to increased services and so on. So the GRA should go further than just telling us there's been an increase in the revenue. By showing us the figures, if they can give us 12 months before SUBA or GVG,
right,
and 12 months after, then we can see a clear point of departure where the revenues were going up significantly. It will help the government's case.
I see. But they would also be required to indicate beyond that it is the auditing by SUBA that has resulted in the revenue increase. That would be important, isn't it? You don't share this particular argument? Well, that if they were paid on the basis of the increment of the revenue as a result of their auditing, then you ought to be able to link whatever growth that had come as a result from the revenue to their auditing.
Absolutely. But, Sabi, as for me, what baffles me is the motives of the Chronicle. Because it was the Chronicle newspaper which actually published this story, and the story then started making the rounds, and people had to hold press conferences to react.
Metro TV's Samuel Ajiman had done quite a complete package about the whole thing.
Yes, and in fact it was Samuel Ajiman, who actually leaked the information to the YouTube. Chronicle newspaper.
It was put on YouTube.
Chronicle then came out and made its publications and stated that a whopping amount of 144 million Ghana cedis had been paid to SUBA. It turned out, according to Samuel Ajiman himself, that was not the information he sent out there. And so clearly the Chronicle got it wrong. And so one would want to ask the question, what the motives of Chronicle is when they came out there and deliberately concocted a story to that magnitude.
If the minister had not stopped the payments, would we not have been at 144?
Of course, then you want to cross-check before you put out a story. I mean, on your newspaper.
But you're always questioning motives. You're even questioning Joy FM motives in reporting Gallup. Every time you are questioning motives, deal with the substance of the matter.
Let me advance my point. And so, Sami, it's important. Now, you heard the GRA boss. He said they only paid 74 million Ghana cedis to SUBA. If that is anything to go by, I think that Chronicle has questions to answer. They have clearly misled the public.
But the substance is that this is money paid for no work done. Really.
I will get to that. The second question I want to ask, and I think my brother has already asked it, and that particular question. why was Suba unable to plug into the system of the telcos? Why is it so? We should be asking questions. Did they make the attempt at all? Did they meet or encounter any resistance from the telcos?
Yes, they did.
These are critical issues. Now, if they did, was it a case of sabotage? Right. Now, if it was, we all know the implications of going into a contract and pulling out of same. If you pull out recklessly, you could, of course, be slapped with a lawsuit and the ensuing damages and everything that the court would order you to pay. You would have visited that on yourself.
Are you aware that presently the telcos are in court over this, matter in respect of the Suba's ability or mandate to be legal, as it were, grounds to be able to plug into their system?
Well, though, that is another issue altogether. Now, did the court injunct Suba from plugging into their system?
No, I'm asking that question because you also know that even the parent law that is supposed to enable this particular process had not been passed.
Well, Sami, so, quite clearly you would understand that the contract may have gone through some difficulties in terms of its implementation. And when these issues came to the fore, the Minister for Finance clearly acted the way he ought to have acted. He halted payments and called for a renegotiation of the terms of the contract. That was what any responsible minister could have done in the circumstances, because
Minister,
there are
the contract started in 2010. The halt came only 3 months ago, June 2013. And you are telling us that's the most responsible action to take.
He's saying that's the time he came to the minister's attention, and that's what he did.
Yes.
3 months ago, when he had been running from 2010.
May. This is a press release from the ministry.
May 2013.
There's a press release.
The contracts have been running since 2010.
Well, Nana, as I said, I'm asking certain legitimate questions which begs for answers.
From who?
Everybody.
Oh.
And these answers would come about through the conduct of investigations, right? Now, the ministry clearly is in the process of doing that. So that these things, the mystery surrounding some of these things are brought to the fore. We get to the bottom of the matter and deal with the issues more appropriately.
What do you say about public outcry that this was just throwing money away because the particular entity that was engaged was not doing anything really? If it is just about taking the CD-ROM from the CDs from the telcos and then telling you that, okay, we can see that in December, this is how much traffic came in November, this is what happened. They could have easily done that. And even if the company had to do that, they were not deserving of the amount of monies that were paid to them.
Well, Sami, I'm not here to hold brief for anybody. I don't hold brief for Suba. I'm looking at the circumstances and the challenges Suba may have encountered. And that is why I think that proper investigations, must be carried out. Why was Suba resistant? Did they make the attempt at all to plug into the system of the telcos?
That's what I've just told you, that the telcos are in court. And they're challenging the ability to do so because that was supposed, according to them, to compromise their privacy policies.
And I'm sure they went to court.
Are they in court individually or collectively?
I am sure they went to court after this contract had been executed.
Okay, let's hear from Abdul Malik on this. Let's hear from Abdul Malik on this.
The minister
no, just hold on. Abdul.
See, is there a valid...
We have to really manage our time. We have very limited time, so...
Was there a valid contract? If there was, did the contract go through due process relative to the Public Procurement Act? And did all the stakeholders who ought to take part in the process, did they take part? That's the first thing we should determine. So far, I haven't heard anybody provide evidence to the effect that there was no valid contract. because I've heard those who were involved say there was, to the extent that the GR boss says that he signed, he witnessed. And I'm not sure what's wrong with that, because if he did not take part in the process, he must state the fact. It's better to state the fact than to pretend that you are responsible so everything is on your head. No. The fact is that if he was not at the stage, the initial stages, and he came in to sign a witness, that's fine. He should tell us the facts. So, what was the contract about? What was the contract supposed to execute? From what I know, it was two-pronged. One was tracking the revenue thing, and the other was trying to monitor the system by plugging in. It looks as if that second one they have not been able to do. I have studied carefully. I'm technically not very competent in handling this matter, so I have to be very careful how I go about it. But the points we were making here was, if I have this document I intercepted, that according to them, if it comes to the VAT and NHIL, before monitoring...
Which document is this?
This is a performance evaluation report, which I intercepted somewhere along the line. At this stage, I'm just doing a preliminary study, but I'm giving you some facts and then I raise my questions. Before monitoring in 2010, it was 19 million Ghana cedis. That is the VAT and thing. After monitoring, they are claiming 40 million Ghana cedis, 103% increase.
In 1 month.
In what?
In 1 month?
No, it says before monitoring in 2010, it was 19 million Ghana cedis per month. After monitoring, it became 40 million Ghana cedis per month.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. Then the communication service tax, before monitoring, was 7.5 million Ghana cedis. After monitoring, became 12 million cedis, Ghana cedis, that is 66%. Now, all this, we must subject them to verification, critically. Now, if you come here, the question of assessment of performance indicators, as stated in Article 4 of the Contract Provision of Service, performance indicators set for SUBA, they had to put in place a physical infrastructure. We need to find out, and that's the point I'm making. I'm not sitting here and voting 100% for anything. But we need to find out. There's a service and backup service installed. Switches and routers installed. Network operating center infrastructure installed. Backup and restore procedure installed. Many installed. Really installed? What are they? And all this expenditure was under the contract, was supposed to have been incurred by the company SUBA. So obviously, on one leg of the contract, there had been performance. There had been purchase of equipment by them and installation of a certain equipment. These things must be verifiable. We have enough technical ability, not Kweku here, but agencies in this country who can verify and see if indeed this infrastructure has been put in place and when it was put in place and of what use. The monies that we've now been told they were paid, the 77 something, we should do value for money audit. Indeed, did they deserve to be paid the 77 million Ghana cedis relative to this infrastructure that they put in place and the revenue that came in? Did the revenue come in? And Akwamena made a point. We can also segment and find out whether indeed the increment was due
to the auditing.
At this stage, I think that should be the approach. Rather than we coming to judgmental conclusions that nothing at all was done and that perhaps somebody was given a backdoor contract to make money when he didn't deserve. I'm not in the position to go in that direction at this stage. I think that we are capable of subjecting this thing to critical scrutiny and item by item. Because there is this document here. They are making claims. Now the
other implication
the Act,
Yeah.
Act 864, it's not in being.
Right.
Is it not?
That's
It
so.
is.
Yes. The court litigation preceded the passage of this Act.
That is so.
And the Act stands to, by the passage of the Act, I don't see why the process of plugging in cannot be done. Parliament has made law.
Right.
And it is law. So that second leg if we still think that is the same company that can undertake it, that is if it has the technical efficiency, competence to do so, I don't see why we are not operationalizing Act 864 and we are still arguing. What do we make laws for?
And the verifications and audits that you also talk about, there's also the suggestion that it could also actually reveal to the advantage of the state that the telcos were under-declaring.
It's possible. You see, that's why I'm taking my position is a note of caution. I'm not going to jump to conclusions. But I think there's enough material for us to investigate, interrogate them, and verify. We are capable of doing that. There are many agencies in this country with the technical ability to do so. Otherwise, you see, the media debate or the public debate, it's leading to a situation where we are indicting people just anyhow.
Right.
Yes, we've done it before. We destroyed a lot of businessmen in this country.
I see. Now, we will take a quick break here. We'll return to take comments briefly on Mr. Bagwing's, comments about how corruption is being fought from the level of the presidency. And then we will finish up with the Nia Equal and the others, their concerns about the issues in the NPP that are likely to keep the NPP in opposition perpetually. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile, your most authoritative news analysis show. My guests are Abdul Malik Kwekubako Jr., James Ogalga, Nana Akomia, and Kojo Edu Asare. Now, there's almost one other issue I almost forgot about before we go to Abam Babing's comments. And that one I'll take just about 2 minutes each, and then we will move on to Abam Bagwings. I'm sure we can do about a minute each of your comments on that one as well. It's about the latest developments on the drill ship saga. And if you have been following what's going on at the Sole Commissioner, you will discover that the drill ship, we have had people, Kandapa, appearing as well, also giving testimony about it, what he knows so far about it. Now there's also this particular letter that has surfaced, and there's all the comments about it. I'll take Abdul Malik Okubako first, about some 2 minutes on the latest development on the drill ship. Factor all that into the corruption matters we are talking about.
Yes, and by latest development, in terms of the letter that has surfaced, I suspect this is the one you are talking about.
That is so.
The Kandapa memo to the president.
That is so.
Which the Herald suggests was authored in August 2001. And also on basis of that, $10 million was paid in 2001 August. Well, it cannot be true. See, read Kandapa's letter carefully. There are 3 names. K.T. Hammond, it says Deputy Minister of Energy, what?
Designate.
Angabila, Deputy Minister of Finance, what?
Designate, yes.
Gloria Akufu, Deputy Minister of Justice, what?
Cameras, zoom on properly.
Okay, now, designate. It means they had not been sworn in, isn't it? This is Hansard. 22nd May 2001. That is when K.T. Hammond, Gloria Akufu, and Angabila were given final approval by Parliament. 22nd May 2001. It was a Tuesday. On Friday, 25th of May 2001, President Kufuor saw them into office. I don't know whether you get a drift.
I do.
By 2001, 25th May, K.T. Hammond, Angabila, and Gloria Akufu were substantive deputy ministers of state. The substantive minister could not have been writing a letter in August and describe them as such. That's the first point. 2, nowhere in that letter is it stated that $10 million payment was effected, even though in the story that claim is made. But this is the memo. You can read it.
All right.
That apart, see, this thing, we are going roundabout. And I believe the commission has this document I'm holding. Can you take a look at this document?
Yes.
That's a check.
Yes.
The $3.5 million check. What is the date there?
This one is supposed to be, I'm looking for this date. Where is this supposed to reflect?
18th July. Look at the top there.
Okay, 18th of July, 2001. 2001.
2001. You can see it.
And that money was supposed to be paid to the government of Ghana.
Order of government of Ghana. The sum of US dollar $3.5 million in West.
Right.
And what is this? Placed to the credit of payee's account with us. That is Ghana International Bank. Signed by MacArthur, manager.
Ghana International Bank in the United Kingdom.
Which is government owned.
All right.
Sent to where? Chase Manhattan, New York, which is today known as JP Morgan.
Right.
These are all the details. Last week, I displayed here the payment order to Societe Generale, a copy of which I brought today, and that is dated 16th July 2001. Nobody can say it was fake. I'm told they say I'm publishing fake documents. Okay? So this story cannot be true.
All right.
It's as simple as that.
Right. And you have demonstrated your basis.
Yes, and I have the orders here. I have the orders here. It's here.
Sabi,
see.
I will.
What is this? This is Memorandum of Agreement dated 20th June 2001. Further to clause 3 of the Memorandum of Agreement, that is between Ghana Petroleum Corporation, GNPC, and Frontier Drilling, the buyers of the ship.
Right.
It says, further to clause 3 of the MOA, it has been agreed that payment should be made by way of one payment letter in favor of Societe Generale in the amount of $19.5 million and one payment letter in favor of Constant and Constant in the amount of $4.5 million. $900,000 shall be kept in an escrow account between sellers and buyers on the client's account of Constant and Constant on the terms as described on the attached solicitor's undertaking. Then Katie Hammond signs the signs. But here is what is this? This is the 19.5 million payment order to Societe Generale from Frontier Drilling. This is the bank. This is the payment order, $4.5 million to who?
I need the cameras on these documents
Constant and Constant. Huh? And this is another copy of the check, which I've shown you. But I've shown you the tracking.
Okay.
Ghana International Bank, the account number is here. Everything is here.
Okay.
You can't take government bankers briefly and put it in your personal pocket.
Has Mr. Kandapa questioned the authenticity of this memo? Because it is signed.
But he's not in town.
It is signed by him.
As far as I know.
If
this
signature.
Let me. No, because you're asking a question.
No, I'm coming to say rhetorical.
He's not finished yet.
No, there's
it's rhetorical.
Yes.
So what it gets you?
Yes.
Kandapa is coming out with a press statement in reaction to this on Monday.
Very well.
Okay.
So not until then.
But he's in town.
I see clearly
out of Accra
that this is a memo duly signed by Mr. Albert Kandapa, Minister.
Yes.
Now, Kweku has tried to raise questions about the authenticity of the memo and concludes by saying emphatically that...
No, I didn't say that the memo is fake. Have you said that?
No, he has raised questions about the designation of these individuals, Katie Hammond, G.A. Agambila, and Miss Gloria Akufu. And the problem he has is that their positions...
Because he says the memo is August.
Deputy ministers designate.
Remember that one, August.
But you see, Sami, if you look at the content of the memo, and let me read 1, 2, 3, paragraph 4 of the memo. I mean, it's instructive. It reads as follows. This morning, wait a minute, Mr. Menz came to me and delivered the attached letter. He mentioned to me that the 5 million offer I made was not acceptable to his principals in France. In our subsequent discussions, I got the clear impression that he would accept a negotiated settlement of 10 million. I still want to believe that there is scope to negotiate for a figure between 5 and 10 million. In this connection, I propose that a team comprising the following is set up to negotiate with Mr. Menz tomorrow, and the names follow. You see, the point I want to make is that from what has been said in this memo, There was nothing wrong with bringing together ministers designate to negotiate. The minister appointed them. But it didn't matter what their designation was. They were individuals.
No, designate means you are not yet sworn in.
You are not yet sworn in, but the minister with whom the buck stops.
No, please.
The minister with whom the buck stops clearly identified them as people who would be part of a team.
The contest is, was this written in August? And for that matter, $10 million paid in August or not? By May, they were substantive deputy ministers. You see, their substantive minister could not write and describe them as such. That is so clear.
In any case,
you can't run away from this fact.
Is that this is a memo which was signed by Kandapa. Kandapa must come out and demonstrate that this signature is not his. It was falsified.
That is not the issue.
It was falsified. If not, this memo raises very serious questions which must be probed into. Very serious questions.
Nana, if you can do a minute, and then let's move on.
Samson, there is this memo that Mr. Gaga seems to have some new energy talking about this memo, which was in there earlier. But you see, the dates. This memo is dated August 2001.
I think it was May, the American style of dating.
One second. This memo is dated August 2001. Samson, how can anybody be writing this letter in August when in July the settlement had been made and Societe Generale have gotten their money?
I think.
How can anybody, the minister in charge, be writing this letter in August when the check, the check, what's the date on the check? That is Societe
18th July.
July. And so it is in August. And then, like Kweku said, the designation deputy ministers. By May, these people mentioned there as deputy minister designate had been sworn in. So nobody writing a letter in August will be referring to them as deputy ministers designate.
At all.
So obviously, somebody had doctored the date on this letter.
I see.
No, I think it's me. So you see, the American style. I think the
what is on
the 5 is the month, and the 8 is the day.
So what is the date on the memo?
I believe so. I don't think somebody is.
What's the date on the memo?
So is a report that doesn't have the understanding.
It's not deliberate fabrication.
It's not report. It's just mischievous.
Okay. Now you want to say something about this, or we should just move on and look at Bagbing and the fact that he can't have access to the president and advise him.
Right. Currently, I think we are talking about we are struggling over dates right now.
That's my favorite.
Okay, but for me, this is the substance of the letter. Okay, the content is what the issue is.
Saying the dates create a misrepresentation. Factually.
And does the substance suggest $10 million was paid? The substance, does it?
For me, you see. So
even the substance, it falls flat.
Yeah, the other issue, I think you have to help me out.
I'm sorry.
I read something on Facebook. I think it was a post of a publication, a letter, a judgment that was supposed to have emanated from the court in London. But on this judgment, the signature was one Nick, Nick something, and it's supposed to be the lawyer or the solicitor to the claimant. I want to know, you are a lawyer, whether such a thing is accepted, that a judgment will be signed by the solicitor to the claimant.
I don't know how that will ever happen.
That's it. There's a covering letter. Read it.
I don't know that will ever happen. This is
read it.
This says that for the attention of Judy Kemeth, and this one was it's a Societe Generale SA versus DSS, Societe Generale SA versus the National Petroleum Corporation. We are, of course, aware that you are no longer on the record of the GNPC, but enclose for your information and attention a copy of today's judgment and made pursuant to the order of Mr. Justice so and so. And this is supposed to be the judgment which you say is signed by...
They were not signing.
Who?
Norton Rose.
Yes, but they were not signing.
Yeah, this is Norton Rose. And that's the same person who is signed.
Yes, and and he was not signing the law, the judgment.
Right.
See, but look at it. The people have been attacked that Norton Rose was formed for 17 something. So it cannot be. What is this? Is this not the same Norton Rose?
That is
which signature is this? It's not the Chachu Chikata.
Right.
And this is dated when? This is 14 January 1998.
No, but I think the
question I'm getting a bit confused here.
Asked is whether judgments.
This was sent to who? Bindman and Partners. That is the lawyers of GNPC before government of Ghana asked them to withdraw.
Right. Yes.
Okay. And these people applied for entry of this judgment. So they put their name here to authenticate. This is the stamp. This stamp you can't get from anywhere. This stamp authenticates it. These are the stamps. Read them. In any case, this is public record, which the commission can get. It's all just red herring.
My confusion here has to do with
let's
how
confuse our viewers and listeners also.
Signature ends up there.
It doesn't happen that a judgment is signed by a lawyer.
And they did not purport to sign. Right. They did not purport to sign. They did not purport to sign the judgment. I've just told you that.
Okay.
And this is the judgment.
Okay,
that's a signature. So it throws this whole thing into some...
You mean there was no judgment?
No, I'm not saying that.
He has suspicions about the authenticity of it. That's what
you are entitled to that, but I have explained to you. This is on record at the UK court registry.
Now let's take it from this way. Mr. Kumia, unfortunately we will not be able to discuss, I'm sure we will not be able to discuss the NPP's matter. But Adam Bagwing, who is within government and is supposed to be advising the president, says he cannot reach the president to advise him, and so he's advising him in public. And he says he doesn't think that there's a commitment to fighting corruption. There's a statement that's been posted by Stan Dogbe, who is an aide to the president. I don't know his particular specific designation now, but I know he's an aide to the president, or he's a staffer in the Flagstaff House. He says that is a blatant lie.
Why is he saying it's a blatant lie?
That the Abang Bagwin cannot have access to the president.
Well,
is that an official release?
It's a tall, thing he's written. And
is it an official release?
I do not think so, but he speaks for the president, so why not?
Something on that point, I also find something a little strange. Bagbin claims that he called the president and told him that he would offer them advice publicly because he couldn't get physical access to the president. But if he called the president on telephone, then you might as well just speak to him on telephone. So I'm a little confused about that aspect. But beyond that, the substance of what Bagbin says. Bagbin is saying that appointments have been based on donations made to the party. But that's a very serious indictment made by a senior member of the NDC, if not the government, against the government. He's claiming that appointments are based on the extent of donations made to the party. That is very, very serious.
Extent of contributions made towards the party's victory.
Appointments have been made, and when he inquired where these appointments are coming from, he's been told, well, they made donations to the party. That is such a serious
It's very strange because your contribution to the NPP's victory doesn't bring you close to the seat of government, does it?
Contributions, money contributions.
Yes, I'm asking you.
Monetary contributions.
Yes, it doesn't bring you close to the presidency.
What he's saying is that appointments are not being made on competence, but on monetary contributions to the party. It's such a serious statement. Now, he's also said that he hasn't seen the leadership in fighting corruption. That reminds me of what the founder of the NDC himself said, that the leadership now will probably be suited for some European country, but not Ghana, which is also an indictment, because we need a leader for the times. And Jerry Rawlings is saying very clearly in the presence of the president that he doesn't think that he's the best leader for the times in which we live in. And Bagbin is also saying the same thing, that the leadership to fight corruption, he hasn't seen it. These are NDC people. So these are very serious statements that we have to examine critically. Because we don't have time, I'd just like to finish here. That for Bagbin to be saying to us that appointments are being made because of monetary donations made to the party, and that he hasn't seen the leadership, and Jerry Rawlings also saying that the leadership that we need, we don't have. These are issues that should concern Ghanaians critically. I'm hoping that in the next couple of days and weeks, Ghanaians will critically examine these issues.
James, some say this is very serious indictment on the government.
Yes, I would have been extremely excited if Honorable Bagbin had mentioned names of those he perceived to be incompetent, but nevertheless found their way into the current administration. That would have helped all of us to make, take informed positions on the matter. But unfortunately, names have not been mentioned, and so this generalization leaves all of us in a state of confusion. But, Sami, let me say that...
He's peddling falsehood, you want to say?
Well, I says it has lived... I am in a state of confusion because names have not been mentioned. If names had been mentioned, I'd be able to discuss the matter more effectively because we all know the various backgrounds of at least those who are ministers, deputy ministers, and so forth. And so, unfortunately, names were not mentioned. He says certain people were appointed, and yet he thinks those people are not competent. It is important. But if you generalize, things in that manner, you create confusion in people's minds. There's no certainty with regards to who the target is. When it comes to corruption, and I have stated this before, that
says he can't see the efforts.
The president,
when it comes to JIDA, he doesn't think that the right thing was done. You needed to have left the institutions like Shraj to take care of it.
Well, Shraj is an independent constitutional body. They are not subject to the dictates of anybody. And so if Shraj on its own did not take action when rumors were being peddled about that there was some rot in JIDA, and the president decided to instruct his sector minister to set up a ministerial committee, and the minister acted, the committee has come out with a report which is being acted upon, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that.
The report that you got, the Attorney General doesn't think he can use that for court and get any convictions. So what's the use? Why don't you allow the institutions, the police? He says the police would have done their job and straight away they would have gone ahead and then prosecute.
Well, the government needed to establish certain facts because the rumors were that government presides over corruption, ABCD. These were rumors. And we decided to establish some prima facie evidence based upon which specific instructions could be given out. Now, the ministerial committee clearly came out with its report, and in that report, prima facie, some people, have been implicated. But we all know, you know, that you cannot rely upon a ministerial, the report of a ministerial committee to prosecute. You can't do that. Dockets have to be built. Now, clear instructions have been issued that the IOCO, the CID should all, should build dockets for the Attorney General to advise, herself and decide whether there is a case to be prosecuted or not. You see, we have to be mindful that as for criminal prosecutions and all that, it takes time.